Hello everyone, and we are pretty much live. Hello everybody. Let's see if everything taking a long time for the output. That is unusual, but it seems to be working. A little more buffer. Okay, hopefully it's gonna go well, and hopefully it's gonna be okay. So, we're about to start another show. Another show for Shortwave Radio. Here we are. Hey everybody. Nice to have you on board. And this is another Shortwave Radio show. And we are here from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. My name is Gilles. We're here every Fridays with our shortwave show, 2000 hours Universal Time. So, of course, this is the place where we talk about radio, where we know pretty much everything about radio. It's kind of cool. There's a cool chat room with people that are just fantastic guys and girls that just love helping out, and it's just a lot of fun to have everybody here on this Friday afternoon. So nice to have you guys on board in a beautiful Montreal here. Beautiful spring-like Montreal after having some snow yesterday. What's nice, at least we had less snow than they were predicting, so it's not too bad. The temperature was what temperature is +3 Celsius right here in Montreal, which is what, about 35, 36 Fahrenheit. So nice to have everybody here. It's always cool to be on board and do these live shows. Hope you enjoyed today's show. A mix of tuning the bands, and I've got a lot of questions that came in, and nice to have you here. And thank you for reminding me to go to the IRC chat that I completely forgot. And here I am logging in right now to the IRC chat room. For those that are there, I'm sorry if I forget sometimes. And here we are. Hello, IRC chat. Okay. Sorry here. Little throat clear up. And cheers. Got a beer, of course, as usual. So hello, everybody. Cheers. Nice to have all of you here, so don't hesitate to say hello. It's always a lot of fun, and it's always very cool to have everybody on board. So, hello there, Rolf Bender, MDK2, Dax Farr from Germany, Buster Brown. Yeah, there's a lot of things to remember when you start the live shows. There's a lot of things that I gotta start up and make sure that everything is working. Sometimes it makes me forget of joining the IRC chat or stuff like that. Andrew J, thank you very much for the nice comments on the review of the PL600. Blanchard 3, nice to have you here. We have NL13851 from the Netherlands. Hello there. Nicolas Utes, nice to have you here. He's receiving Fire Drake. Pretty cool. Coco M, nice to have you here from the UK. Ralph Patrick Hearing, nice to have you here from Dusseldorf, Germany. Neil Toombs, hello there. Radio Active, hello there. Two Hands of the Radio, nice to have you here. Hello there from Greece. Nice to have you on board. Theothi, hello there, my friend. Hope you are well. Richard Cook with Fire Drake on 5890. Bobby Burgess, of course. Hello there, my friends. David Green. Hey there, David Green. Nice to have you on board. Nick Amanda from Romania. This is really nice. 9420 for Greece. TO is from Greece, direct. So if you're listening to Greece, let's check it out here. 9420. It's there. Not very strong, but it's there. So 9420, Voice of Greece. That's direct from Greece. is a transmitter site in Greece. David Green, what frequency for that Sudan station you heard yesterday in the Midwest? Kind of cool catch. Anybody else I've missed? Say hello, please. Jeff K85QDO, hello there. Nice to have you here. And if anybody missed out on, or if I did not say hello, please say hello again. I want to make sure that everybody gets his share of the limelight. And nice to have you here on board. So here we're late afternoon. It's kind of nice. Randall Kluntz, nice to have you here from Northeast Illinois. Radioactive sitting at 12.2 Celsius. That's not bad. If it's sunny, it's actually really good. That would be the kind of temperature I'd go outside and bring my radio. SG2 East Nebraska, RSP12, nice to have you here. 50 Fahrenheit. Very sunny. Snow all melted. Here it's still very white. But if temperatures continue like this, snow will be melted by the end of the month. DKA, hello there. Nice to have you here. And yes, it's obviously Friday, which for many people is one of the great days because the weekend is just about to arrive. But when you're like me and you work, you know, you have like your life and your job is YouTubing and doing things at home a lot, on for the majority of the time. It gets relative. You don't have, I don't have that Sunday feel anymore. Everybody knows when you work, all week, Sunday has a feel. And, since I've been working at my own, being self-employed pretty much, Sunday doesn't have a feel anymore. It does have a feel, yeah. I would be wrong saying that it doesn't, but it's not the same feel. It's not the same type of feel. Steve and Maxine from Australia, nice to have you on board, and have a good Saturday as you guys are in the future Saturday morning. Neil Toombs says nice to have you here, and yes, I'm going very well. Might look a little tired. I did go to sleep a little late. Had some friends that I met yesterday that I haven't seen in a long time, and it was a nice little evening. Actually, Bobby Burgess saw me live doing a song at the karaoke. Bill Mead from Pennsylvania, nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Radioactive says there's a weather fax on, which I believe is probably 6801, I would guess. Nice to have you here. Radio Algerienne, 55905 kilohertz. Nice to have that. William Helms, hello there. Nice to have you on board from Florida. Oh, 8680.1. Okay. Let me check that out. 8680. Anything here? Got nothing. Absolutely nothing on 8680 here. Richard Cook hearing a strong station on 9770. Jerry DX, hello there. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Mick H, nice to have you here. Rock Ristorante, nice to have you on board. SM0SBT from Stockholm, Sweden. It's so cool to see all these people from all around the world logging in. Every time I'm amazed. Every time I am just wow, So yeah, we got some snow here, but not a lot. We maybe got, I'd say we got maybe 3 inches, 4 inches max. We didn't have that much. Actually, we were supposed to have more than that. But as the storm was moving up, we got less and less of it. So, but the East Coast seemed to have had a lot of it. So it's not too bad here, actually. And it's actually melting a lot now. So pretty cool. David Green, oh yeah, 7205. I believe I've heard that in the past in late evening. I remember hearing Sudan at some point. So nice, David. Pretty good catch. Always fun to have these stations, especially when it's a first-time station. There's some excitement around it that just makes it cool, and that's a part of the thing I like about shortwave radio. Also, it's that in radio in general, You know, you might be days, weeks that you just tune in the same good old thing. And you know, you might sometimes get a little bored, and then someday you just tune that signal that you've never heard before. Or you see that unidentified station that's like, what is that? And suddenly it's, you know, you're a little kid again and you're trying to understand, what's that station? What am I hearing? And you know, radio is cool and because it's full of surprises also. Ronald Zucala, nice to have you here. I'm gonna put the chat room a little bigger because my old eyes are a little tired, and I need new glasses also, so I'm about to do that. And so by having extra large text, I can read it better from a distance and looking at the chat, so it's nice to have everybody here. Ricardo Bolgiganda, nice to have you here from Brazil, PY2490SWL. Pretty cool. Bobby Burgess, if you were going to teach children to shortwave, what would be the things in chronological order you would teach your children? Wow. You know, you gotta catch the attention of the young generation, and to catch the attention of somebody, and you know, and I think it's pretty much everything. The first thing you got to mention probably is how you can receive stations from really far away. You know, that's the wow factor of shortwave. The first thing I will say to somebody that doesn't know what it is, or somebody that comes here and sees my icon and says, oh, you got a CB radio, is, no, this is a shortwave receiver. And I get stations from all around the world. So I would guess the first thing is wow them with, hey, you can hear the world with this. And then, you know, slowly bring them into, you know, what you can hear. It's, you know, it's a complex hobby to take the time to explain to somebody, especially, you know, newcomers to the hobby. Voice of Turkey on 6050, Nicola Hughes is receiving that. Monsieur Jacques, nice to have you on board from Portugal on a windy evening. XNEDX, Keegan, nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas, 68 Fahrenheit. That is, you know, that is the expedition temperatures if it's sunny. Absolutely. Yeah, Racal radios, absolutely. Absolutely. And this weekend, by the way, Paul B, hey there from the UK, nice to have you on board. Thank you for the nice comment. Bob T from Chile, Ohio, nice to have you here. Really cool. Fabrice Simonet, bonsoir, bienvenue. Toujours un plaisir. Nice to have you on board, Fabrice. Richard Cook's receiving KBS, the South Korean KBS World Radio in German on 3955 from Wolferton, England, transmitter side. William Helm says, unbelievable as far as up north from me, the northeasterly is blowing down the 80s to 66 to 74. Wow. That's cool. It's not beach weather. It's more like enjoy the beautiful sunny day weather and the sunshine, but it's not beach weather, I can tell you that. Nice to have you on board. Mick H says the number stations and the buzzer gave these children big kick. Yeah. So, oh yeah, so you and Tim Robinson heard me sing last night. Man, there were so many people there. So many people there. It took a long time before I actually had to turn. And I never got back. And I got home before it was my turn again. There were too many people there yesterday. But it was still fun, you know, we had a lot of fun. And it's kind of cool. Mark Schmidt, hello there from Maine. Nice to have you here. Dark Noise NL from Netherlands. Nice to have you here. And it's pretty cool. And this weekend, for us in North America, we are changing our clocks, except in a few little places. I believe, like Saskatchewan, I believe doesn't change. Is it Illinois? There's a state or two that doesn't change also, I believe. But for most of us, we're moving into daylight savings time to this weekend on the night of Saturday to Sunday. What that means, first of all, Arizona, okay, thanks. What that means basically is that, you know, the shows, and you know, that's why I always use UTC, because it doesn't change. So basically the UTC time stays the same. UTC time stays at 2000 hours Universal Time for our shows. But because we advance our clock 1 hour, we of course have less. It changes our reference to UTC. So here, for example, I'm on the Eastern time zone. Right now it's 5 hours to UTC. So it's 3 p.m. local is 20 UTC. Starting Sunday, 20 UTC becomes 4 p.m. because of the time change. So that it's 4 hours in the summer to UTC. You know, it always gets us a little bit off, because you know, when you actually try to reference UTC and in local time, sometimes it puts you off a little bit. That's why I like having a clock that's always on the UTC time zone. By having a clock that's always UTC, you never get to think about it. If you just look at the clock, it's oh, it's 2016. You know, no questions asked. Even the shortwave receivers, I tend to leave the clocks on the shortwave radios always in UTC. You know, somebody was asking me the other day, so I saw a video, your clocks seem to be UTC, and he said, why don't you put your clock local? And I said, no, shortwave radios, we work in universal time, so I always put my shortwave radio clocks to universal time. I don't want to have them local time. I want to have universal time. That's the useful time for any shortwave listener. And to answer one question that I got this week, I got actually a series of questions this week, all from a guy called William Devan. And he has a lot of questions, and he said, I was compiling a list of questions for the past few weeks, and I thought maybe you could go through them slowly as time permits on your live shows, and we're going to do that actually. So William, we are answering your questions today. So the first one, as we're talking about this anyways, is GMT, UTC, and Zulu the same thing? He says he thinks it is, but he's not sure. So yeah, there are several ways of mentioning, you know, universal time. You know, the UTC, Universal Time Standard, was a term that started appearing more in the late 70s, early 80s, slowly, because before that, what was the main term for, you know, UTC was actually GMT. Why? Because it's the Greenwich Mean Time. It's where, you know, the parallel zero is. That's where UTC is from. So for a long time, it was Greenwich Mean Time. But of course, in trying to standardize and have more of a scientific term for it, the real term changed to UTC. And Zulu is more of a kind of a radio term. A lot of you know, a lot of radio amateur radio guys, or even, you know, military and utilities of all sorts, often will just, you know, kind of say Zulu instead of using, you know, UTC or Greenwich Mean Time, which is maybe a little more complex to understand. And Zulu is kind of a very quick and easy term to have. So for, you know, radio guys, often they just say Zulu. So it's, oh yeah, we'll be there at, you know, 20 Zulu, 2000 Zulu or something, you know. So, but they're all the same. They all basically mean one thing: universal time, and they are interchangeable. So if you hear somebody saying, "Oh, we'll be there at, you know, 1500 Zulu," or at 1500 GMT, or, you know, 15 hours GMT, or at 1500 UTC, they're all the same time. All the same time. Brett Wayne, hello there. 31 Fahrenheit, snowing in Salamanca, New York. Nice to have you here. Nicola Hughes, USB or LSB? Is that a question? It depends, you know, on what you're listening. There's a lot of stuff. Most stuff is on upper sideband, utility stuff like that. But you know, kind of interesting. Accidentally the Exer says Hawaii and most of Arizona. Okay, thanks. Dirty Diaper, hey there. Cold in South Carolina. Nice to have you here. PLF Radio, will you change the time of your shows? Well, if you take the reference to 2000 hours UTC, stays the same UTC. Nice to have you on board, PLF Radio from France. So if you know my shows at what UTC time they are, what universal time, we will be at 2000. So that's going to stay. It's just that the reference. So for me, for example, 2000 hours UTC for all winter was 3 p.m. local in the afternoon to do the shows. By keeping 2000 UTC, we moved up. Well, we're going to move to 4 p.m. local time here in Montreal for my live shows, which is okay. Hello there, Tim Robinson from the UK. Nice to have you on board. And always nice to have everybody here. Mr. Karaoke Dude. So, Fabrice says, on top of that, we have the summer winter time in France, so I show up late at work 2 times a year at least. Well, you should actually show up late once and early once, basically, if you don't always change it. Mike DX, hey there, nice to have you here. Richard Cook's receiving 5450 RAF vomit. Bobby says 28 seconds. Yeah, well, the stream, and I'm always a little scared when that happens. When I started the stream, the time that it took for the stream to appear in my window here was very long, longer than usual. So I hope nothing bad's going to happen for the stream, because it seems that the buffering was longer. Maybe something's happening on YouTube, or I don't know. Or maybe on my internet connection, you know. And hey, Andrew J. says daylight savings time was for farmers, really should disappear. Actually, you know, I'd like to stay on daylight savings times for one reason. Because in the evening, darkness is an hour later. So in the summertime, it's cool because the sun sets at like 9 p.m. here. And I like that. If we would stay on standard time, in the summertime, it's set at 8 p.m. instead, which is an hour earlier. So I kind of like the fact that, you know, we got late evening, before it gets dark. So, you know, if we would change, I'd like to. But the only problem with that is that in the mornings, we would all wake up and go to work in darkness. Sun in December would rise like at 8:30 a.m. here in Montreal, which would be a little late. But I don't know. There's always these talks, about should we not change the time. It's an eternal thing. QRP radio listener, nice to have you on board. 73s, nice to have you here. Or 73. So I believe what I heard about the move to DST is more of some kind of energy conservation thing. So by having more light in the evening, we consume less energy because we don't have to use lights as much and so on. But you know what? With today's technologies, just look here. I've got 4 big spots that are sending light to me so that the stream and the video looks nice. And I mean, they are all LED bulbs that are equivalent to 100 watts. But that consume in reality like something like, 18 watts or something, 20 watts. So in reality, with today's technology and today's, LED lights and fluorescent, bulbs, we actually consume less energy in our homes with that. And here I've done a switch because I found these Philips LED bulbs that are amazingly good because they don't actually do any interference on the radio. Because one of the things that, you know, when you change the bulbs, you know, fluorescent or LED, some of the bulbs are crazy noisy, and you got to be careful which you choose. So I found these Philips LED bulbs that are $5 each, and that actually do zero noise on my radios. And unless I'm really close to them, it doesn't do any effect in my receivers. And when I started changing all of the lights around the house with these LED bulbs, and I gotta say, on my electricity bill, I saw a difference after a couple of months. I did see that I was consuming less power. So, you know, I think we're in a time where we got to think, is it really something necessary to do these time changes? And, you know, there's all sorts of facts also. They were saying that apparently when we do a time change, more people have heart attacks. There's all sorts of things, weird things that happened. And it's kind of interesting, you know. It's like, okay, is it, you know, making us sick to basically have that? I don't know. It's kind of something to think about, I guess. What else do we have? Chris Freitas, hello there from Memphis. Nice to have you on board. And yeah, I would guess that must have been pretty interesting. I was talking to Sheldon Harvey a little bit on Monday, because we tried to do a meetup with Sheldon Harvey and from the CIDX Club, and with Mickey Dormage from Alberta, because he was in Montreal, and I couldn't get off work because Mondays are my Microsoft days. I couldn't get off work, unfortunately, because I wanted to meet them, and it would have been fun to, you know, do a little go to a restaurant or something and have a couple of beers. And of course, you know, the first thing that was amazing is the Sheldon was telling me it was one of the most amazing Shortwave fest, and he was saying that a lot of people jokingly were saying that when the power was out, it was some people were calling it the Shortwave Radio Field Day. And it's like, yeah, it kind of feels like it, you know, when there's no power for many hours. It's the Shortwave Radio Field Day. Why not? We should have that. The Shortwave Radio Field Day, actually. How to set up when there's no power. I can tell you that. Really, your voice of report of the week had a long anti-DST rant, apparently. So, hey, Giuseppe from Ponza Island. Nice to have you here. My next door neighbor were Italian. And his dad was Giuseppe. Giuseppe. I always remember that. So Paul B says, oops, sorry here. Coming down. I'm coming down. The chat. You know, when I talk, I stop the chat at a certain time, and I always get behind a little bit. Which would you recommend for beginners, the ICOM ICR6 or the ICOM 20 for scanning? If we talk purely of scanning the VHF, UHF bands, you know, the ICR6 would do the job. The ICOM ICR20 is a little more complex. It's more of a, you know, that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand of the ICOM ICR20. Because I see a lot of comments, and, you know, I see bad comments on the R20. I see good comments, and it is all in when I see the comments is it often all related to how and what you think of what you're going to do with the radio. The R20 is an amazing receiver, but a lot of people don't understand that this is not a scanner radio. It's general coverage. It's a you know, communications receiver. It's not the same thing with upper lower sideband and stuff like that. So if you understand what this does and how it does it and what you can listen with, you're happy with this radio. But for people that, you know, oh, I'm going to get the hard 20 and get shortwave. No, this is not a shortwave radio, and there's not really many wideband receivers that are actually very good at shortwave unless you pay a big amount for an ICOM like the ICOM ICR 8500 here. Which, by the way, I want to mention, A lot of people have been saying, hey, I see too much of your SDRs and not enough of your ICOM. I'd like to have more ICOM, please. So, yes, we will do that. Absolutely. I will gladly have more ICOM stuff. We're going to try to switch in between. And another question somebody asked, hey, what happened? You would often do these, unannounced live shows and everything. So I'm thinking about it. This week I almost did one on, I think it was Wednesday evening. I almost fired up the camera and okay, unannounced live show. So we're going to do some. I promise. And we're going to do a few also because some people say that they enjoyed that. Like I often did, put the camera here, would just look at the radio and, talk, comment about what I'm receiving and so on. So, it's it's kind of interesting. Redactive says, I find it interesting that the term is UTC, but it is voiced on WWVH as Universal Coordinated Time. Yeah, absolutely, UCT. Absolutely. I don't know why it's, I don't know, maybe it's, because honestly, Universal Coordinated Time sounds better than Universal Time Coordinated. I don't know. It is kind of interesting. You are right on that. It's kind of interesting. PLF Radio says UTC is a mix of French and English. So, it's kind of interesting. Okay, let's go down. What else is there here? I'm following the chat room. If I missed your questions, by the way, please let me know. What else do we have going here? It's kind of interesting. Twinser Radio says coordinated universal time in English would normally be abbreviated CUT. Temps universel coordonné in French would normally be TUC. Yeah, I guess. Hey, take care, Tim. Always nice to have you on board. And stay safe on the road there. Stay safe on the road. Exiting the exercise after a power interruption, my Grenic S450 DLX would go to 24-hour mode from previous 12-hour mode, set to correspond to Central Time with daylight saving time this Sunday. I may set it to UTC. Yeah, I often my radios are all on UTC usually. Ham's on 5403.5. This is one of the 5403.5. Yeah, pretty strong too. Interesting conversation. 60-meter ham band. Interesting band, that 60-meter band. Sometimes you have digital mode, sometimes you don't. Pretty crazy. Somebody says you love summer in northern France. Decent daylight until 10:30 p.m. Wow, that's nice. You guys are a little more far north than us. Here it's in the summertime in June. It's 9 p.m. with the remaining, daylight before it's really dark. It's maybe up to 9:30, 9:35 p.m. Love that. Really love that. Too broke, Tim. What is your problem with SDR? What is your problem with SDR? Like that.
Very well to to rid one of strange anomalies on the band, but it's a lot of work to do that, to have a reference antenna and to tune the thing. But it did work very well. Yeah, it gets good reviews and very effective. And the shop didn't happen. I would have taken one because on 75 at night here. It's a nightmare. I mean, the noise blanker, even in the 850, will do it. The noise blanker.
Talking about noise blinkers and radios, that's amateur radio for you on the 16-meter band, 5403.5. Pretty strong here. Well, you gotta know the brand, Too Broke Tim, because there are several different ways to the to set up the SDR, and one of the things you need to know is what type of SDR it is. And that's very important for us to know. My DX has got 8 watt LED bulbs here, generally silent, except on the VHF airband slight noise, and 2 watts LED work light, no QRM at all. That's cool. That's cool. So what else do we have? I can't wait to go back for the expedition. I can't wait. LED spotlights. What's next? Beer maids? You know what, Jerry? It was so funny because a couple of times we were talking about how many comments we got when last summer, when we had the CIDX barbecue, and there were a few women on the show, and we were talking about, you know, how guys found that kind of very nice to see nice women there, and they were beautiful women, absolutely. I have a friend of mine that works as a waitress at the karaoke bar where I go, and I was talking to her the other day, and I said, you know what, my channel, a lot of guys want to have a beer maid, and I told her, I said, you know what, how about I share some of my money that I make on that evening, and you come over and you will be the beer maid for an evening and give me my beer. And she started laughing and she said, you know what, I would actually do it. So who knows, maybe one day I'll have a beer maid. Surprise, surprise. How do you get shortwave frequencies? Well, the only way to get shortwave frequencies is to know what your SDR is, and that we can't answer the question without knowing what radio you've got. It's very important. You know, Brett Wing says the power was out here in Salamanca, New York last Friday, 3:15 a.m. to 10:45 p.m. So I missed the show. Aha, KC2 and XP. Did you take the time to listen to the bands? That's the first thing I always think about. 11980 sounds French. Do I hear something in French here? I am not receiving anything, but oh, I'm hearing it, yes. And it sounds like Adventist World Radio. 11980 is, yeah, Adventist World Radio in French, 233021 from Austria, Richard. AWR French from Austria transmitter site. And it is the transmitter site from the old Radio Austria. So Mick H says, enjoyed your African Pathways vids. They talk about some interesting stuff. I was impressed with the reception on your anti-Grundig. I was totally impressed. I was using only the telescopic antenna, and it was booming in on that old Grundig. I can tell you it was amazing. And yeah, you know, African Pathways is one of those, you know, those that follow me for a long time, you all know that I'm not very fond of, you know, religious type programming. But, you know, I don't know, African Pathways sometimes have come interesting, I'd say interesting philosophical, you know, talk. I'll call it that. And it's kind of something sometimes interesting. Is green beer on tap for next weekend? Yeah, I should get that. It's yeah, I really should get that. We always have our the parade here, and yeah, I need to think about that. Absolutely. Radioactive says Radio Havana, Cuba is 5140, and here we go.
His answer will be taking on what steps member states propose to take to correct the situation. The 39th regular meeting of the Conference of Heads of the Government of CANCAM will be held July 4th through the 6th in Montreal Canada, Jamaica. The Food and Agricultural Organization's Regional Conference for Latin America and the Caribbean began on March 5th in Jamaica with the signing of an agreement between the Caribbean Development Bank and the FAO. The agreement will allow the
Pretty good reception of Radio Havana, Cuba in English on 15140. Andrew J says receiving 15140 in Vancouver, Canada. Pretty cool. Gaza East Anglia, nice to have you here. Good evening. Chris says I definitely need to stop by the neighborhood Irish pub for some green beer next week. Yeah, there's at the bar that I go to for karaoke, there was a waitress there a couple of years ago, and what she would do is on that day she would put a little bit of green food coloring in the beer, which didn't change the taste, by the way, so it was kind of interesting, and the beer was green. Maybe that's what I need to do. So what else do we have? And by the way, I see people talking about the different YouTube channels, like Two Hands of Radio and so on. I just want to say, anybody that has a radio-related YouTube channel, amateur radio, scanner radio, anything that has to do with radio in general, if the majority of the videos on your channel are radio-related, send me the link by email at Official Shortwave Radio, and I will be happy to do a quick review and try to boost your views if I can. I would be very, very happy. It's something that I just love. I mean, we're all having fun with radio here. It's not a competition. I remember a couple of months back, there's I won't mention but there was there's a radio channel that that we follow each other, and he was mentioning, hey, I was trying to catch up with you in the views and the number of he says, wow, you're getting even more momentum. You're actually growing faster than I am. And I was like, yeah, well, it's not a competition. I mean, this is not a competition here. There's, I want to be friendly and fun, and there's place for everybody. And we all have our different ways of talking about radios, of, reviewing receivers, and doing radio videos. And it's kind of cool, What's the major thing on my channel? I do post videos of reception, stuff like that. I need to find, a few more ideas maybe to post. But, the main thing of my radio now has pretty much become the live shows. What's really creating momentum a lot on my channel lately is really the live shows that I do. People seem to enjoy those. There's always a nice turnout. I remember when we were at 20 or 30 people viewing maximum during a live show. Like we're at 80 now, and we easily almost every time at some point reach 100 or beat 100 viewers at the same time, which is amazing for a very unique channel, we got to say, which is the dedicated shortwave radio. And if you do have a radio related channel, please let me know. Send the link to it to Official Shortwave Radio at gmail.com, and I'll be happy. I'll be very, very happy to share your channel with others. I mean, we're here to have fun, and we're not, like I like to say, it's not a competition, guys. We're here to share the goodness and the joys of listening and receiving radio, and that's it. What are your initial thoughts on the upcoming, to be released here in the UK, ARDV10? Well, as long as it's not officially released, it's very difficult to have an opinion. It looks nice, and that's the danger, the big danger of all of these reviews and all of these pre-announcements. Because on paper, every radio looks amazing. And where we really need to make a difference is that what's on paper and what's the real thing once it's out is so different. So different. So I think the best would be to mostly wait until it's out and people start playing around with it. we'll have a better idea. But you know, on paper, it looks very, very, very nice. Gotta say that. Nicholas says, I've managed to get all of my friends back into AM radio. My best friend Wanzi even got a Texan S8800. Well, that's good. That's pretty cool. Richard Cook's receiving WWCR on 13845. I hear that one quite easily here all the time. Here it is, 13845. Well, I almost always hear it really well. 13845 is not coming. It's probably propagating over me, just jumping over me probably. PLF Radio. Gilles, they could have used the shortwave transmitter of CBC to broadcast other shortwave stations like WRMI. Or the shortwave transmitter in Austria, for example. You know, unfortunately, the Sackville transmitter site was one of the best, one of the really, truly great transmitter sites that existed in the world. The transmitters there, when they shut down the CBC, the Radio Canada International stuff, had been refurbished not that long, you know, that long ago before. They even had been upgraded for DRM transmissions. And it's sad because a lot of people don't have, they have kind of a short, you know, sight of what we could do. And yes, the CBC Sackville transmitter site could have easily been, you know, changed into some relay of, you know, international broadcasters or so on. Anybody that would wish to be on shortwave. You know, I'd be... What the hell just fell here? Oh, this is the speaker that has fallen down. So, okay. So, you know, you'd be surprised. You know, we always think about only shortwave stations. But if you have a price that is interesting, I'm sure there's many, many other stations that might be interested in dabbling and trying it out with shortwave. But here the intent was to destroy it as fast as possible, because what happened, you know, we almost lost Radio Canada International once in the 90s. I remember I was part of the you know, I remember sending my email, was it an email? It's either email or a letter to you know, the minister, it was the Sheila Copps that was you know, responsible for that, Minister of Foreign Affairs plus Prime Minister plus, you know, trying to avoid that they shut down, and it worked. You know, I mean, Radio Canada got funded, and but the problem is with Radio Canada is it was always safe as long as it was within the foreign affairs and the government, because by law there was a law that required international voice on shortwave for Canada, so they could not easily shut it down. But when they moved Radio Canada International to the CBC, who had to take care of it, and it coincided with the fact that the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation had huge cuts in the budget. I mean, they really had huge cuts in the budget. So you had huge cuts in the budget, and you told them, oh, and by the way, you got to take care of Radio Canada International that costs $16.5 million a year to operate. So that started the beginning of the end. The CBC always thought of Radio Canada International as a plague, as something that needs to be destroyed, because it's taking $16 million off of their budget. And when the Conservative Party removed the obligation for international broadcast, well, the CBC saw the opportunity. But one of the things the CBC also could see is the possibility that it could be reactivated if there's too many people complaining. So by shutting down and making sure that the transmitters and antennas are dismantled as fast as possible, well, now the amount of money required to put back on the air Radio Canada was so big, there was no possibility of going back. You could see that there was really a wrong intent in here. You could see that there's some negative in how all of this happened, and it was, they wanted Radio Canada International to just stay out the air forever, which is sad. JD Williamson, nice to have you on board. Andy Cowley, nice to have you on board from the UK. Pretty cool. And it is sad. Lolo Parskowski, nice to have you here. Nice to have you here. And great to have you on board. Richard Cook's receiving Voice of Korea week on 7570. Ralph Bender says, by the way, what about thumbs up? Yeah. MDK2 says, yes, I got quite the boost from Gel promotion on my channel. Thanks again. I'm happy to do so. And I'm really, really happy to do so. So, you know, you gotta, one of the things that is important is to stay focused and regular. YouTube channel requires regular input. You know, if you want to do something, you can't post a video, you know, 2 weeks in a row and then not post a video for a month and a half. That usually does not really help much of a YouTube channel to work. And you know, for those that are doing the YouTube channel stuff with radio videos, remember one thing: it isn't that difficult to get 1,000 viewers if you're consistent and you put out interesting videos. The Hidden Rabbit, nice to have you here. Any word about the ICOM? Jerry says, any word about the ICOM R30? Sorry. You know what? None at all. I'm starting to wonder if they will release it or not. You know, when I went to the Hamfest last fall with Fastload, I was surprised at one thing. ICOM had all these leaflets. They had a big a place with full of leaflets of information about all the amateur radio transceivers. They had one for the ICOM SCR 8600 receiver, but I was surprised to see that the R30 was missing. There was no leaflet for the R30. It's almost as if it's not going to come out anymore. I don't know. It's very weird. Did they change their minds? You know, did they change their minds? Man. David Green says, I have uploaded student recording to the Shortwave Radio Listeners Appreciation Group. Okay, cool, David. Do you have a YouTube channel, David Green? Does it have radio-only videos or most of them? I'll be happy to talk about it, and I'll share it. So, oh, my desk is full of, you know, this is crazy. There's half of the things I have here, you have to just not sneeze or move too fast because something's going to fall off. I am running out of room, absolutely. They're starting to have too much things on here. That's why I want to transfer my big desk there. I'll show you guys for a second. Okay, look at that. I've got over there a really big desk that I would like to transform into something for the live shows. Just to show you guys what it looks like. That's the big desk. So that was my office desk that I used to use all the time. And basically, it's a big mess, and I'm not using that computer anymore. So I was thinking of trying to transform that huge desk, because it is huge, into something beautiful with, you know, and I've started, I had printers on the top, all sorts of things. I'm starting to remove all of the stuff there. And I want to transform that into something that would be visually appealing and interesting for live shows. So that's the next task. And I have the pirate flag in the window to stop the sunlight. I need to put the pirate flag back up, by the way. Absolutely. So that's pretty much what's happening with all of that. I need to do something here. Mr. Jacques, you should try putting a tiny bit of red currant syrup on your beer. Turns it red and it's quite good. It will certainly please the ghost that just threw your speaker down. Well, you know what? I tried it once. Somebody had told me, because I like trying sometimes some flavored beers, like, you know, beers that will have blueberry flavor or raspberry flavor or so on. And one of the things that somebody had told me said, you know what, instead of buying these beers, take real fruit juice and pour a little bit of it in a beer, a regular beer. And I gotta say, yeah, it tastes good, and it tastes even better than buying something that's already flavored. So, you know, it's interesting. I like that. What else do we have? Let's go down to bands. Rest in peace, speaker. It's still working. Still working. You know, these are old computer speakers that I purchased. At least I've had them for at least 15 years. They're old Logitech speakers that I removed the subwoofer because the downstairs, they were complaining that when I would put music, it actually would make too much noise. So to show that I'm a good sport, and because I stopped listening to music through these speakers, I removed the sub, and it only has the two main speakers, right and left. And they're actually really good for the SDR and listening to shortwave. They're actually really good. So, you know. Nicholas says CHU coming in mixed up. I need dual conversion. Isn't the PL660 dual conversion? Yes, it is. It is a dual conversion receiver, absolutely. It's mixed up with what? Maybe you're having a station that's too strong, an AM station, something too strong next to you. Judge Simon, question to anyone. Is it normal for a Texan PL680 or a Grundig G5 to kill its batteries even when not in use? Is there a setting I need to change, or is it this normal? Okay, one of the things you got to know, if they're alkaline batteries, your PL680 or G5 should not kill the batteries. I have both of them here. They do not kill my batteries. But be careful, Judd. If you're using rechargeables, make sure you got good branded rechargeables, because some rechargeables actually lose their charge by themselves quite fast. So make sure that you got good rechargeables. If maybe you can answer what type of batteries you've got in them, because the new NIMH, nickel metal hydride batteries that keep charge should keep a charge pretty much on these radios. But I have both, the PL680 and G5, and here, just to give you an idea, the batteries are rechargeable batteries in my PL680, and they've been in for about a month and a half, and still working. They're about halfway through now, but I did use it a few times, so they didn't use. And that's also one of the questions. Let's answer that question from William. Type of batteries that I use. Well, look at that. My favorite batteries from that I've been using lately are Amazon Basics rechargeables. These are NIMH. They are pre-charged, meaning when you get the package, it's already charged. And they are amazing batteries. I love those. Amazon Basics. They're not too expensive, and you can get them in packs of, I think it's like 8, 16. They even have like a 32 pack. I bought a 16 pack, and I wanted to test them, and I'm about to buy another 16 pack because I just love them. These keep their charge pretty much. But one thing you got to be careful also, that's one of the biggest problems, Judd, is make sure your radios don't get squeezed a little bit, because one of the biggest problems with these radios is that when there's a key press, you'll sometimes have your the display light up, and that will draw a lot of, will make your batteries last less. But both the G5 and the PL680 that I've got here, if you put alkaline batteries like Duracell, if you don't use them in 6 months, it's still going to be usable. It's still going to be okay. So maybe it's the batteries. Be careful. David Arden, KJ4CMY, nice to have you here. Pretty cool. Casper Peterson, nice to have you here. He's got some CB going on in Copenhagen. So yeah, the batteries that I use are nickel metal hydrate. Amazon Basics are great. I've had a lot of success also with the rechargeable Duracells. They're quite good also. But you know, buy good branded radios. Very, very important. So you know. Zach Anto, so what? That's what the rest of the room looks like. Well, yeah, that's on that side. On that side. On the other side, it's worse. But it is a nice desk. That desk I purchased when I moved here in 2000. I moved here in 2000, and that's a $800 desk that you've just seen there. And a friend of mine was telling me when he came over, he said, "You know what? It's a shame. You got an $800 desk that's doing nothing, and it's actually nice and would be nice if you do things with it." And it's like, yeah, I know, I need to do something with that. So you know, yeah, David Green, do start a channel, absolutely. Richard Cook, HM01 due in a few minutes, 11635. Let's check it out. I hear something here. 11635. HM01 is a Cuban. Hey, we're already an hour into the show. Incredible, hey? Incredible. Danny, Shortwave Radio DX, greetings from Yonkers, New York. JD Williamson says, nope, that big desk is too small still. So you guys know now, I'm facing the really big desk. That's right there. Right there in front of me. And on the other side is the radio stuff, and I've got a gazillion boxes there. I've got a Fender Stratocaster guitar and a Marshall amp with tons of stuff over it. So that's pretty much, and you know, that desk I used a lot, by the way, because when I did a lot of tech jobs, it was my main desk for, you know, doing pretty much everything, and that's where I was sitting most of the time. So you know. So it is a nice desk, actually, a very nice desk, but it's a huge desk. And if I move from here, I'm not bringing the desk with me. This is way too big of a desk. You know, I was kind of crazy to buy that big desk, honestly, because it's not going to fit in every room. You need a huge room to have that actually working as a corner desk. I can tell you that. Hey, Bro Frog, nice to have you here. Paul B says, I have a TVO V115. It actually picked up the BBC World Radio Service yesterday in the UK. What a treat, because it seems difficult to get that station now. What's your thoughts? In the UK, it's probably a little easier. A lot of the African services that are broadcast are actually easy to catch in Europe. Easier than here in North America. But it is much more difficult to listen to the BBC now than it used to be in the past. Now, I still remember that amazing frequency for North America when I was, you know, I started shortwave listening in the 80s, 5975. That was the BBC frequency for North America in the evening. It was amazing, and it's so sad to have lost that. I love to listen to the BBC, and yep, and you know, it's actually a great catch that you've got there on the TVO V115 to get the BBC. JDX says, those Amazon rechargeables that you told me to use are the best. No issues and keep it charged for a long time. Absolutely. They are great. Yeah, the X-Fire Henaloops. Henaloops are the equivalent, actually. They're really the equivalent. Chris Freitas is using the Texan ones, but also have some Energizer with a better rating. They're amazing. You know, the Texan ones are like just rated 1,000 milliamp, but they're actually quite surprising. So Andrew J says 4 Amazon Basics AA high capacity 2400 rechargeables should arrive tomorrow. Cool. So yeah, I hear the Cuban station. Kalayu says Radio Romania International frequency. Yeah, I think it's in half an hour. They're going to be on 6170 in 30 minutes. So yeah, absolutely. Anybody that likes radio, you should, and if you do videos for radio, definitely set up a YouTube channel. So you know, it's crazy. Ralph Bender says, time for a 360 view. You really want to see the rest of the place? Like, I'm gonna do a little change because there's one thing that I don't like, and I will show you guys the desk and everything. So here's, and please do not look at my clothes, that is everywhere. And I'm just gonna put this quickly here, and don't look at the broken fan. And I will do a 360. I will do a 360. So I've got the so let's turn it off here. So this is of course a window with the pirate flag right now in it. The desk, and you see one of the lights, the spotlights there. Desk. The chair that is mostly used by the cat right now. So here, of course, all the junk that I have that I need to find a place with, including, well, that's not junk. You see down there is a Fender Stratocaster guitar. This is an old computer portable Amstrad PPC 640. My tools. I got a Marshall combo amp right there, so you see that I don't play guitar much lately. And so a lot of boxes, a lot of shit around. You have my Fisher amplifier, a Sony amplifier, turntable, speakers, bunch of CDs and crap, and radio on this is radio shelf with a Macintosh push at the top. So this is my radio shelf. That's pretty much what it looks like, guys. And this is my office, which has a lot of junk in it, and I need to really change that, I gotta say. So you guys happy now? You've got a 360 view of my office. Jerry says, I think you would turn your show up a notch with that $800 desk and also with a beer maid. Yeah, I know. The desk looks good, and I think there's something I need to do with that. Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been thinking about it. And I've actually been thinking of doing something, maybe that sounds crazy. Remove the top shelves from the desk. Turn the desk around, and I'll have a chair on the other side, and it would be like, maybe like a desk. You know when you see the news, the people have the desk in front of them, and they have their stuff there. So I was thinking maybe I could do something like that. And you guys would see the top of the desk, and you would see me behind the desk, and you'd see my, my computers and stuff on the desk and whatever else I want to display. That could be kind of nice, actually. Jerry says, big desk equal big show. So, it's just crazy. I saw somebody ask a question about YouTube, and I can't find it. Anybody that talked about, there was a question about, is it okay on YouTube for something, but I didn't see I can't find the question. If you want to ask it again, I'd be happy to answer any YouTube related questions, by the way. So, Zacanto says, all I have on my desk is my laptop, a lamp, and an old tea can full of pens. Mick H says, bought some IKEA Lada 2450 rechargeables. There's been some talk that they could be Eneloops at about half the price. I heard a lot of people buying IKEA batteries that apparently are amazing. Chris Rita says, I'm just upgrading my camera tools. Ordered a Canon EOS M8. It also has a mic, lens, and memory card included. Now I need a tripod and set until I can buy more telephoto lens. Cool. Cool. Jerry says, I have Eneloops and they aren't as good as Amazon. Huh, interesting. So yeah, hearing the 11 HM01, the Cuban number lady on 11635 a little bit. Brendan Klon says, business report on 7490. Am I hearing WBCQ? Nope. Probably propagating over me. Zach Entel says, nice view out the window. Probably naked posters, I bet. Feel afraid. Oh, Fender. Yep. Fender Stratocaster. Made in USA. Hey, K. Wells. Nice to have you here. Love the Mac on the top shelf. Yeah. Unfortunately, it has a glitch. It stopped working a couple of months back. David Arden says, you play the guitar and play the radio. So, that's the, you know. No problem, Ralph Fender. I was happy to do the view. Wish it would be a little nicer, and I need to clean up the place. And I will do a cleanup of that desk. It already is a little better because I had 3 printers on the top shelves. And I kept only the laser printer, which I put actually under here because it's used more here with all the computers I've got here than it was used there. So I need something. Jerry says you should get a 360-degree cam. Can watch with my Samsung VR. I'm not sure I want people to just like, oh, look at that. He's got some dust on the floor. So, you know. And the cat on the desk. Yep, absolutely. That would be a nice thing. JDX, Gilles, the new Alex Jones Shortwave Wars. Yeah, I'll try not to go into problems like he did. Alex Jones got into trouble with YouTube. His channel has stopped. They stopped monetizing the channel. Apparently, a lot of the companies that had ads didn't know that they had ads in front of Alex Jones' controversial stuff on YouTube. So YouTube stopped monetizing Alex Jones. So you might be running into trouble a little bit. I can tell you that. You gotta use tune to 830 kHz medium wave. There's nothing here at this time. It's still sunshine and 830 kHz. I won't hear anything here. JD Williamson says IKEA batteries, can't play without them. Huh, you know. And you know, even when you look at the Amazon Basics, very often the batteries that are made for these companies very often are made by well-known companies. You know, they could be Duracell batteries branded Amazon Basics, and you know, we just don't know. William Helms, the question was, is it legal to tape while working CB radio? I don't see why it would be illegal, but maybe the legality comes from the fact that you're talking to someone else. And maybe the legality is more in the side of you gotta know the other person that you're taping, maybe. But apart from that, I don't see much of a problem. You know, one of the big problems is that also here in Canada and in the United States is way different in laws. You know, for example, here we had last year there was a discussion on, you know, when you take a picture outside or if you do a video outside, and there's other people in your field of view. Somebody went to court. They wanted to sue because they've seen a video on YouTube. They noticed that they were in the video, in the background. But what came up here is the judge said, when you're outside, it's a public space. You can't complain because somebody was filming and you're in the field of view. There's nothing you can do about that. If you was filming in your home and you're inside the video, there's a problem. But on the streets, there's nothing you can do about it. And so, but in the United States, there's a lot of these regulations are so different, and there's, in the United States, what's even more complex is each state has its own little set of laws of everything. It makes it really, really complicated. Yeah, WBCQ with apparently a 500 kilowatt transmitter. I mean, wow, this is going to be really, really something. Paul B, do shortwave frequencies bounce at consistent points? If so, why do we have moments when the signal becomes distant with serious interference and hiss? No, they do not bounce at a consistent point. And that's something you got to understand. And the reason why is that the ionosphere, which has a certain thickness, varies throughout the day, varies with solar activity. That means even though you're transmitting always at the same angle, you're not hitting the ionosphere always at the same spot. It might hit a little higher or a little lower than usual depending on the thickness, depending on how ionized it is. And when there's more solar activity, the ionosphere tends to be thicker and more dense. So that changes. That means that some days, okay, on some frequencies, some days you'll have a station, look at WBCQ, 7490. WBCQ is technically the closest shortwave station from Montreal. Okay, they're in Monticello, Maine. That is not that far. Maine is just across the border from here. What happens is that sometimes when they broadcast, the ionosphere is so good that it can actually bounce off almost overhead and fall back down. So when the skip is very short, so the distance between the bounce is very short, I hear the station. So 7490 can be super powerful and really strong sometimes. I'm not hearing it right now. Skip might be larger. It might be that it's going up and falling down further away. So now it's jumping over me. So WBCQ is probably up there above me in the signal. It's just not falling down here. It's falling down farther away. So it all has to do with how good the ionosphere can reflect a certain frequency. Remember that a beamed transmission from shortwave stations, it's not a beam that's, like a laser beam. It's not something that's very thin and direct. It's something that actually, as the signal's moving away, it's actually getting wider and wider all the time. So it has a wide, up in the ionosphere, it will have a wide space where it can actually reflect. And so depending on the characteristics of the ionosphere, it's going to reflect more or less in a short distance. One of the things that can happen is that there's also a possibility that when the ionosphere, the solar flux was 67 when I looked earlier. That's low solar flux. It means that broadcasting very, very steeply, very direct up, might result in the ionosphere being incapable of reflecting. It's not dense enough. It's not thick enough. So your signal is lost into space. So there's all sorts of these things that change. So the bounces are not all equal, not always at the same place. They're moving around. And one also, the things that happens is, people say, why are signals on shortwave always fading out and in and out? It's because the ionosphere, it's not that layer that's just a fixed layer. And it's like that. It's a layer that is always reorganizing. It's, the solar activity, solar radiation is ionizing the atmosphere, but it's on and off. I mean, the ionosphere doesn't stay ionized. Some of the atoms will come back to normal and then re-ionize and so on, depending on the solar radiation. There's always a restructuring of the ionosphere all the time. It's always being restructured. And the solar wind is more or less strong. That's also something that's not fixed in its strength. All of that makes huge differences and how the signals bounce. So, you know. Okay, what else do we have? What else do we have? CHU on 7850 for Richard Cook. I haven't heard 7850 in a long time. Not really broadcasting. It's it. Paul the cat is here. He's looking at me with these little eyes that are sleepy eyes. Pierre Alfredo says, "So yesterday I heard the farthest medium wave station in my location. Medium wave station was from Egypt, 3,000 kilometers. Wow, that is great medium wave DXing. Hey man, come here. Yeah, get that. Come on, everybody wants to see you. Get that. And here is Mr. Paul the cat. Get it? Get that. Get that. You know when the cat looks at you, it's like, yeah, what do you want, human? Ah, man. I'm gonna let him come if he wants. So it's not a smooth thing. It's always changing. All the time. Jerry says, when is the Fedry Fender and Marshall amp grand giveaway? Never. Never. Ingmar Klinhard, nice to have you here. What a collection. Wonderful collection of technical gears. Great radio studio. Thank you very much. And here is Mr. Paul the cat saying hi to everyone. Hey, Mr. Paul. What do you got to say? Meow? So everybody, Mr. Paul saying hi to all of you. So, you know. Hey, Mad Radio DXer. Nice to have you on board. And, I mean, Alex Jones is one of those guys, you know. Juan Amigo, nice to have you here from Barcelona, Spain. Okay, well, says I agree, you can record, but have to let the person know first. UK anyway, yeah. That's what I would think if you would do such a thing. You gotta make sure that the person at the other end knows that you are recording that person, probably. But I'm not sure here in, you know, Canada. It's kind of difficult for me to know the longest shortwave reception I've ever had, because I mean, the longest, one of the long distance that I know is Madagascar to Montreal. You know, when I do that video about African Pathways Radio from Madagascar, African Pathways Radio is, Madagascar is 18,000 kilometers from here. 18,000 kilometers, guys. That's a hell of a long distance reception. So Mr. Polycat being more comfy. So, you know, it's pretty crazy when you think about it. What else do we have? Coco M wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on the ICOM ICR 8600 desktop receiver? I currently have an Eton Satellite 750. Wanted to upgrade to an ICOM. Would love to see some more ICOM reviews. Thanks. Okay. I've read 3 big reviews, including one very technical review that had like 30 pages. That I've received thanks to somebody that sent me that PDF through the mail, through email. The ICOM ICR 8600 is an amazing performer. It's an amazing radio. It's not perfect. No radio is perfect, honestly. But for a desktop receiver, for somebody that wants a radio that is very wideband, because that's the thing. I see too many people comparing the ICOM 8600, and I think it's the 7300 that looks like it, but they're not the same thing at all. The R8600 is like my ICOM right here. It's a very wideband radio. It goes up to 3 gigahertz. It is a VHF, UHF, and shortwave, medium wave, long wave, everything receiver. And from what I see, it is an amazing radio. And almost everybody that I've seen that own one love it, honestly. What is it with Ethon and Guilforting? I don't get it. I don't get it. Giggleforting. Okay. PLF, what else do we have? Let me check it out. Yeah, David Arden. But it's not far. For me, it's not very far. It's one of the closest shortwave stations. So, you know, it gets, most frequencies are jumping over me, honestly. You could show antenna radiation pattern. Yeah, that is something to try to understand also. So, you know, it's pretty crazy. David Arden says, Jill, I found your show by accident. The link just appeared on YouTube. Glad I found it. True. Yeah, you know, it's there are some people saying that they found it by accident. A lot of people are, you know, got it by going to some other shortwave channel or you know, group. And it's nice to have everybody here, I gotta say. So what else do we have here? Yep, Enoch Nevdal, nice to have you here. KC2GLI, hello there, nice to have you here. You know, it's always fun to have everybody here. 830 Radio Man. You know, the internet is amazing because we're all from different places around the world, and hey, we've reached our now it's almost something, you know, usual, the 100 people watching the show. It's something I hit almost every time now, which is very nice. Nice to see that big round 100 number. But yeah, it is amazing to see, you know, how the internet makes the world smaller. I mean, we're all together here from different parts of the world. It's just crazy, you know, and we're chatting together and we're interacting. Just amazing. Just amazing. No, my cat does not like... My cat is extremely difficult in his food. He likes very specific food. And it's very, very difficult. I gotta say that. Coming down slowly. Bobby Burgess, do you really think shortwave broadcasters should reconsider Brother Scare's contract? I think they should. You know, we talked about it a little more, you know, when I was at CKUT 90.3 FM last weekend. We talked about how, you know, it's completely nuts. How the mother of the girl that complained that Brother Stare was groping her, apparently she knew that Brother Stare was groping her in the studios of Overcomer Ministry while doing the show, and they didn't do anything at all. So you know what? It's nuts. And I find that I honestly find that all the shortwave stations right now that are accepting money from Brother Stare to rebroadcast on shortwave, they have a huge moral issue, and they should not be accepting that. Also, with, you know, I mean, there's a YouTube video showing Brother Stare being rather bad. So, you know, I understand money talks, but there's a limit where you gotta stand up and say, no, I don't want to have your dirty money anymore. That's pretty much what I have to say. PLF Radio, do you think the signal from the station you received from Madagascar went through the poles? Actually, it should not, because Madagascar transmissions to Africa, okay, a lot of them are for Central West Africa. And if you look on a world map, a signal beamed from Madagascar to Central West Africa is actually going through North America if you go and you look farther away. So I often have amazing reception of all the stations from the Madagascar station. Because when they broadcast to Africa, they're broadcasting to my area, basically. It's just that I'm much farther away. And what helps between the African continent and me is the huge body of water that is at the Atlantic Ocean. So it's pretty much going through Africa and through the Atlantic Ocean up to me, basically. So, you know. Trey says the ICOM RS600 doesn't have narrow FM, DRM, and MP3, but it is a programmable receiver. So in the future, they could reprogram it to do things that are right now not really there. Yeah, there's stations. You know, and it's sad because in the evening, Friday evening, I love listening to Alan Wiener Worldwide. But the problem is, most of the time it's not, I can't receive it. I usually receive it better in the summer, I gotta say. Hey, good times everyone, with love. Nice to have you here. Syrian Willow, nice to have you here. George Sinclair, nice to have you here from Scotland. Do you have any views on SDR Play with a decent antenna? MM0KGS. A lot of people have SDR Play with good antennas, and it seems to perform extremely well. Extremely well. But somebody with an SDR Play might actually have more comments, but it just looks like an amazing receiver. Andrew J says, very surprised last 2 days, got 7395 at 1700 from Cranji to Vancouver, Canada. 12,875 kilometers. PL600 using stock long wire. That's good. That's pretty good. You know, when there's a huge body of water between you and the other place where you're listening to, it helps tremendously. Tremendously. That's why people that live right smack on the coast next to the ocean often have amazing reception of a lot of stations, because the body of water just helps tremendously. Tremendously. So, you know. Yeah, and we do the Xers channel. Absolutely. Great stuff. Great stuff. Hey, I'm Mapper from Moscow. Nice to have you here, and glad you can actually join in. Richard Cook's receiving Vatican interval signal on 9660. And hey, we're an hour and a half into the show. Just want to do a little self-promotion. You enjoy what I do, why not think of a little donation? It helps me continue what I do. And of course, if you like what I do, it's a great way to keep me on the air, keep me doing the live shows and having a lot of fun. You can send it at paypal.me. Make sure you're not at .com, very important. paypal.me/shortwave. Or you can send it, you go to your PayPal and you send it to the Yahoo email I'm sharing right now. Or you can become one of my, we're 8 patrons right now following me and giving you a little something every month at patreon.com/radio and computers. Problem with Patreon is sometimes it's a little weird to set up, and I gotta say that's the bad thing of Patreon. So often I will kind of say, well, you know, it's better to give me a little something through PayPal than Patreon, but if you can set it up right, just be careful. Patreon.com/radio and computers or paypal.me/shortwave. And on that, how about I open another beer? Beer number 2 after 90 minutes. It's not too bad, actually. And here we go. Beer number 2 after 90 minutes. And I'm drinking Don de Dieu today. Really nice to have you guys here, by the way. Hey, 102 viewers right now. Wow, this is so cool. Somebody asked me the other day, aren't you nervous when you see a lot of people watching? And I'm like, nah. You know, I've been doing this now for a long time. And actually, one of the questions from William is, how long have you been doing live shows? Well, you know what? I've been doing live shows. I think the first time I did a live show was like in was it the fall of 2013, 2014? I've been at it for more than 3 years now. Honestly, more than 3 years. You know, I wish I would have numbered the live shows on Shortwave that I do, because we would have a lot of them. pretty sure. You know, I numbered the ones on the tech show, and the tech show is at 107. This week I had my 107th show. And I do more shows on the radio stuff, so we'd be at 200-300 for sure. So thanks everybody for donating. And you know, I want to reach out for those that have never donated and that are here all the time and that could donate. Please think about it. And if you can't or don't want to do an electronic stuff, you can send me an email through officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com and say, where do I send that check or money order? And I'll accept it, absolutely. Okay, what is your ultimate scanner in terms of distances, sensitivity, and overall frequency coverage that you could rate number 1? You know what? If I talk about the receivers that I own, yeah, I'd have to say that my ICOM here, the ICOM ICR 8500, is my number 1 receiver, scanner, radio, whatever. It is the number 1 in my list. As for the rest, it's very difficult to have an opinion of what could be number 1 when you don't have or have not tried a radio. And you know what? One of the biggest problems also that I've seen, sometimes it's very suggestive. It's like your opinion of a radio sometimes is biased because you purchased or you bought it, or you know, somebody told me once on one of the reviews of the radio, you know, oh, you were really harsh on that radio. I like mine, and I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I try to be fair because it's easy to, well, you know, I spent $800 on this thing, so I'm gonna talk nice about it because, you know, we got to be careful with not falling in that category of, you know, just not being fair, if you want, you know. Okay, what else do we have? What else do we have? Let's go down slowly. Yeah, Oxford Shortwave logs, nice. Absolutely, he's got some nice stuff on there. Some nice de-expedition stuff also when he goes abroad. It's really very, very nice. The one of the biggest problems, if you become, and I've dabbled with that because some YouTubers have actually come forward to me in private messages or emails saying that you know, they sometimes have a bad rap on YouTube. And one thing that you got to understand is if you do a YouTube channel of radio of any kind and become somewhat popular, just make sure that you can, you know, understand that there are going to be some bad people and some idiots out there, and just continue what you have to do. It's very important, okay? PLF radio, can somebody confirm All India Radio? Yeah, it should be 7550. Am I hearing anything? Yep. Yep, All India Radio. 7550. They're also on 9445. Are they coming in there? Yeah. Not as strong, but 9445 also. All India Radio. I'm not gonna leave it there very long because there's some music, so you know. Radio Havana, Cuba, and Arabic to Europe. Radioactive on 15370. Let's check that out. And by the way, anybody receiving a signal? Not very strong, but it's there here. It's there. Nice to have all of you here. What are some Canadian food brands you'd recommend for someone visiting? Oh man, I don't know what to say to that, Zach Antle. I really don't know what to say to that. It all depends on what you like. But we definitely, Montreal, especially Montreal, I don't want to I don't want to toot my horn here, but Montreal is known in Canada for one of the best cities for restaurants. Can tell you that. Hi Mapper, do you feel you belong to Francophonie? Yes. Without talking too much about it, because it's a sensitive issue here in Canada, I definitely consider myself francophone and of the Francophonie, French language speaking community, absolutely. But you know what? Look at my English. What I always say is, you know, here in Quebec, the problem is some are stuck in the I don't want to learn English, it's not important, which I do not subscribe to. So, but yes, and I'm very happy to speak French, by the way. And you know, on shortwave, it's helped me so much. You know, in the 80s, and all these African stations, a lot of them were French language. I mean, I could easily understand what they were saying, what the program was. And, you know, speaking multiple languages, and I think for everybody in the chat that speaks more than one language, for shortwave, it's amazing to speak more than one language, because you open up a world of even more broadcasts. You know, if I listen in an afternoon, oh, nothing interesting in English, but oh, I just got BBC French. Oh, I just got Radio France International in French. It opens up even more shortwave broadcasts. If I speak Spanish or understand it well, it'd be even more interesting. Even more things I can listen to. So, you know, it is kind of nice. But I do consider myself that I belong to the Francophonie, or to the French speaking community, if you want, from around the world, absolutely. You know, David Arden, that is the eternal question of who puts the thumbs down. It's always the same. Always the same guy. Okay. On YouTube, and by the way, for those that don't know, if you have a YouTube channel and you're wondering who's putting the thumbs up, thumbs down around the world, go into your creator's studio and go into all of the details. You will know from where around the world the thumbs up, thumbs downs come from. So you can see exactly where all of that is coming from. And it's extremely detailed, by the way, on YouTube. You can actually know how many people watch your videos from, you know, you can actually pinpoint the city of New York if you want. Oh, I've got that many views from the United States. But then you can click the map, and then you can see, oh, from the United States, I've got these views from all of these states. And you can click a state, and oh, I've got tons of views of, oh, from Memphis, Tennessee. Okay, that's interesting. It's very, very detailed on YouTube. And if you have thumbs up and thumbs down, if you have a few thumbs down, you can actually pinpoint where they are coming from. It's going to show you. It's not going to tell you who. They're never going to tell you who, but they're going to show you. Oh, it comes from that country. So you know, sometimes it adds up. You know, it's like you know that somebody doesn't like you. You see that it's from that region. Sometimes you can like just put, okay, 1 + 1 = 2. Probably that idiot, you know. But you know what? It's mostly what I mostly find funny here is that if you actually take the time to do that all the time, you absolutely have no life. You absolutely are the biggest loser in the world that has no life, just taking the time to always do it. I mean, wow, what do you do in your life? You must be some kind of really big idiot. What else is there? And Mad Radio DXer is totally right. It is totally acceptable to give $1. Okay? I get too much people saying I'm so sorry because I'm just giving that. I don't want you to be sorry, man. You know what? I would rather have $301 donations, which for each individual is nothing, than, you know, just a couple of bigger donators or whatever. You know, I got every category of donators. Everybody's welcome, and $1 is totally perfect. Totally perfect. Absolutely. I mean, I don't want to have that crap of, well, I'm not going to give because I just only give $2. No, I don't care. It's fine. You're great. You're actually better than, you're $2 better than 90% of the people that are watching that never give. So that's it. But that said, it's very important to understand. I also understand that a lot of people cannot give, and that is totally acceptable. Also, I mean, we're not all in the same boat, and we're not all in the same range of, you know, having spare cash to give out to some guy at the other side of the world that's doing live shows on YouTube. And it's quite alright, okay? And I mostly don't want anybody to feel bad. And that's very important. You know, on one of the channels that I do live shows, there's this guy that always says, well, you know, I'm on the welfare and I cannot give and I feel bad. But you don't feel bad. My idea here is not for you to feel bad. I don't want that. I don't want that. You know, I actually told someone once, oh, well, you know, I don't have a computer right now. I need to buy one, and, you know, I'm watching you on the old Pentium 4. Love your shows, and, you know, I'd like to donate. And I'm like, the first thing that I said is, don't donate to me. You got an old Pentium 4. Instead of donating to me, keep that money and buy yourself a decent computer with it. You know, I'm not that desperate for cash. Okay, we gotta understand that. It helps out. But I'm not in a dire situation here. I'm doing fine, okay? But it did help, and it does help, and I want to thank everybody, okay? Now we're talking about money now. I don't like that. David Green says 94.45, tad louder for him, but can't really hear it either. As time goes by, as we'll go into a little later, might get a little stronger. KC2GJLY says, where do you find a real-time on-air listing of shortwave frequencies? Aha, that is a good question, actually, because a lot of people don't know where. Okay, here's the thing. One of the places I go to is eibispace.de that has a list of every single shortwave broadcasts by time in every language. So, for example, we're at 2147. So I go down to 21, so you see all the 2000 hours, 2100 hours, all the broadcasts with the frequencies, what's on the air right now that I could listen to. Another place that a lot of people go to, which is short-wave.info, which is very nice. Maybe I can actually short-wave.info. And this one is nice because it gives you a map of the world with stations on the air right now. So if you go, I'm sorry, I don't know if you guys see it well. It seems to be not too bad on the camera. Short-wave.info. So here, for example, we were talking, okay, what's that station on the air right now? So, okay, find a station broadcasting on, okay, 7550 kilohertz now, and I click the now button, and it gives me All India Radio. So on the map I've got a little X on India showing the transmitter site, and on the bottom here I say All India Radio in English, and you see the power, 250 kilowatts. They're broadcasting, they're 120 degrees, and it's from Bangalore, India. So that's another great website. There are many of them. I don't know if it's because I'm a computer guy. I like the EIBI space better. I'm a kind of a list guy. I like to have lists. But these are great resources. And for utility stuff, by the way, because one of the questions a lot of people ask is, yeah, but for utility, I mean, international broadcasts, I understand. But what about utility stations? How do you find those? The best thing, and very often it'll give you something. You will have just enter the frequency you're listening to and what type of transmission it is in what mode. So for example, I'll go on Google and I'll say, what's on 13467 kilohertz upper sideband? And very often it's going to pop up websites that people have logged, stations, and you can have an idea of maybe what you're receiving. So, and the IBI Space website, what I also like is that it has not only a time listing, but a frequency listing. So when you get to the main page of the IBI, which looks like this, you have by time or by frequency. And by using the computer shortcut to find, so if you're on a Mac, it's, I believe, Command F. If you're on a PC, it's Control F. You can actually, so I can say Control F, what's on 7550, which is going to bring up 7550 in my search. And now I know that, okay, 2045 to 2230, which is the time now, all India radio, English, it's to Europe from Bangalore transmitter site. So that's also a way that I do it. You know, maybe it's me, I'm a computer guy, my brain is wired some way. I like a list. Shortwave.info, short-wave.info is good for other types of person that like to search, like to have a little place where you can enter a frequency, search for it, have a visual on a world map of, which is very nice by the way, of where the station is from and so on. So that's pretty much. Radioactive says 15500. 15500 is pretty strong, and I'm very far in the chat, so I'm coming down, guys. Hello there, VK2FBAJ from Australia. Nice to have you on board. Really, really nice. Good morning. Gaza East Anglia says just upgraded his SDR from an RTL dongle to SDR player SPA1A. What a difference! Absolutely, absolutely. 3830 says Radio Man says solar conditions improve temporarily. You know, it's an up and down things basically. Up and down things. So it's very important to, check it out. What else do we have here? Could we decode? Hey, Casey Red Dragon, could we decode some weather facts? Yeah, not very long. Yeah, well, maple syrup is the thing. Absolutely, And now it's the time. Putin. I'm not that big fan of Putin, but sometimes. So John Young. No, my clock is not. Whoa, I said the wrong word here. My clock is not 19 minutes slow, John Young. Refresh. You are 19 minutes behind in the stream. That's what's happening. If it ever happens to you guys and you see the clock is more than a minute or two, refresh the stream, because it's because it's a stream that's going on. You can sometimes be in the stream half an hour from now. So basically you'll be listening to what I was saying half an hour ago and think it's live, but it's not live. You're 30 minutes behind where I am actually. Did you go to the Carnaval de Quebec? Si bonhomme. I haven't been there in ages. I've been there when I was young, but I haven't been there in ages. Ages, can tell you that. Mike DX says, I only speak English, but I know a few languages when I hear him. Yeah, and there's this way of also understanding languages. Absolutely. I mean, we can after listening to Shortwave for a long time, what's propagation, what's propagation, what's Portuguese, what's you kind of get a drift of the languages on Shortwave. Absolutely. So do you like true crime podcasts? I listened to one about the original Night Stalker last night and had a nightmare. I like crime mystery stuff. Absolutely. It's kind of nice. I like these old-time radio stuff, where they reenact some kind of, a crime scene or whatever. It's kind of nice, I gotta say. Okay, what about... Let's go down faster because I'm really far behind, really. I finally found the NHK Radio Japan English broadcast. Unfortunately, I still do not know what the heck the Japanese broadcast peoples are always laughing at. Well, you know, especially on their game shows. The Japanese game shows are so weird. These guys are just like, what the hell are you doing? Isn't the Eton 750 and the Texan S2000 the same radio? They sound like the same radio. But maybe somebody can say, no, there's a difference. I'm not really sure about that. Radio Romania on 6170. Let's see if I can hear it. Yep.
RI.well, Channel 1. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write an email at engl@ri.un. Goodbye.
So the end of Radio Romania's English language, 6170. Pretty strong. Oh, the biggest ham fair in the Netherlands will be held next week. That's a fun place to go. That's a fun thing. I can tell you that. What else do we have? Picking up anything on 6195, 6195 is, I believe, yeah, it's really good. That's Voice of America from Botswana Relay, if I'm not mistaken. So let's check it out here. 6195. 6195 is the 2024 6195 Voice of America English up to 2200 hours, so it's ending soon. To from Sao Tome in the in Africa. So it's gonna end in a couple of minutes. So Voice of America from Africa, pretty good signal, pretty nice. With some music. Wow, the speaker fell again. Every time I put music a little too loud, it falls. So pretty cool. Take care, Nicolas. Always nice to have you on board. Bob Bender says Radio Thailand, Radio Slovakia, Radio Romania, Voice of Vietnam. Also have German broadcasts. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of German broadcasts from the shortwave outlets. Absolutely. The best frequency for me for NHK English is when I stay up until 0500 UT. They are on, I'm trying to remember, in the 49 meter band anyway. And it usually has a good enough signal I can listen to the English broadcast from NHK Radio Japan. You know, it's sad they don't have English. They have a very, very good frequency in Japanese all evening here for North America on 5960. They're super strong in Japanese. But they should have 30-minute English. It's sad. So, you know, it's sad. Shortwave radio, yeah, shortwaveradio.am is also a nice place, absolutely, as PLF Radio saying. So shortwave.am. Let's go here. Let's just, for the sake of it, go to shortwave.am. That's also a great website to have schedules. So that's Voice of America.
Today. I'm Heather. Thanks so much for joining me today. And a special thank you to Jack Fraser in Harare and to Cornel Corey from the VOA English to African service right here in-house in Washington for joining me to send the next song of the week. Our FM stations were live Saturday and Sunday at 1505 and 2005 UTC. We're also on shortwave Friday at 0905 UTC and Saturday to Sunday at 0905, 1505, 2005, and we update 2205 UTC. Finally, you can always find us online at VOAnews.com anytime. Just click me, Heather Maxwell, or leave the time out. Till next week, stay beautiful, stay blessed.
So that's Voice of America signing off in a few minutes. 6195. Yeah, for number station, Priom, PRYIOM.org. Great place. Brian Penny, hello there. Just got my first SDR radio. SDR playing. Wow. Love the waterfall display. Oh, it is amazing. Absolutely. It is great. It makes listening so cool. So cool. P1SBM Alex says stream lags 10 seconds behind. 7 seconds for radioactive. Not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah, we're flirting with 100 views. Not bad. We moved up to 107, 8.
Nearest American Cultural Center or United States Information Service in your country.
Let's check out what's that big signal here. China radio in Spanish. No, in Portuguese. China Radio International in Portuguese, 6175 from Albania. Oh yeah, Ian McFarlane. Yeah, absolutely. That was amazing. Radio Guinea, Conakry, 9650. Not very strong at the moment. Let's check it out, 9650. I haven't heard it well in a long time. It's very weak. It's definitely there. There's something there, but it's very, very weak. I gotta say. Very, very weak. What's on... So this is Radio Marti. Look at that. Look at that amazing signal from Spain on 9690. This is so strong. Amazing. Amazing. Really amazing. Jerry says Satellite 750 and Texan S2000 are the same radio. Texan acquired. That's what I thought. The Texan S2000 and the Satellite 750 are exactly the same radio. So you know, pretty sure. Jill, you have to learn Japanese now. No, I don't think I'll do it. Radioactive says Radio Romania 7275. Hearing just a carrier here in Oregon. Oh, so the S2000 has an IF out. Okay, I'd heard something about there's a difference, but I didn't know what. Yeah, Richard, but 6195 was, for me, was really Voice of America. Yes, there's a Saturday show tomorrow, 2000 hours UTC, absolutely. We are here tomorrow again, so if you like Shortwave and you like my shoes, be here. Tomorrow's another show also. Hope you guys are having fun. Hey there, Fast Load. Thank God it's Friday. Just finished your day's work. Now we are in the weekend. What else do we have? What better for you for receiver, the SDR or RF receiver? I am. Yeah, you know, this Ephedry SDR is amazing. It's very, very good. Both my ICOM and the Ephedry are great receivers. So I often, you know, move in and out from the different radios that I use. Definitely. So, hey, we're at 2 hours into the broadcast. Nice to have everybody here. We're flirting with 100 views, live viewers. And I hope everybody's enjoying the show today. So, all you're on call, well, maybe nothing is going to happen. Don't forget it. When you think nothing is going to happen and you're on call, all hell breaks loose. Okay, few more little things. So our friend William that had tons of questions. Let's just do another question. Okay, he's looking at the Texan PL 380 and the Texan PL310 ET, and I was wondering which one is better. Pretty much the same radio, if you want my opinion. Same sensitivity. The PL310 ET, in my opinion, is close to PL380. They have both the easy tuning mode, which I always thought was gimmicky at first, but honestly, it's actually a cool feature to have. Whenever you get the 380 or the 310 ET, I think you're going to have a great radio, and for the price paid is an amazing receiver. And so, yes, BLF Radio, there's a show tomorrow at 2000 hours UTC, tomorrow, March 10th. And my time flies. I'm just going crazy at how time is just going fast. I mean, it seems yesterday was, you know, just, Christmas or something. It seems I don't see the time go. Plus the fact that in a week and a half from now, I'll be a year older. Andrew the Exer says PL310 ET and PL380 have the same DSP chip, I think, which is the SI4734. So they should have identical performance. Yeah, pretty much. I have the old PL310, by the way. The original one that didn't have ET. And the reason why they put the ET is for easy tuning. They added easy tuning mode afterwards. But they're very similar. So I would guess they have the same performance level in whatever you have. And I did have a lot of people talk about the PL310 ET from Texan that's just great. So, a great radio to purchase and very affordable. I mean, somebody doesn't have a lot of money. I mean, the PL310 ET and the PL380 are really great values for the price paid. A lot of people sometimes say, oh, you forgot when people ask you for a radio, a cheap radio, you always forget to talk about the TVDO V115. And I just want to say, the reason I never talk about it, it has some flaws that in some instances makes it a bad radio. So the TVDO V115 is, yeah, a $20 radio. It's amazing for the price what you get, but at the same time, I'd rather you spend a little more and get a Texan PL380 that for me will, and I'm sure it will perform well for you. Where the TVDO V115, depending if you live close to a strong FM station or AM station or whatever, it doesn't always perform well. So that's why I always talk about the Texan PL380. It's because I am sure that radio will be great. Texan PL310 ET, I'm sure it's going to be great. V115, it depends. It could be in some instances a great radio, but it can also be a bad radio depending on where you live. Also, the noise, the electronic noise induced by the radio itself, the electronics, it is quite high on the V115. If you put your hand over the radio, you hear that whining noise. The electronics make a lot of noise within the receiver. PL380, PL310 ET, super quiet electronically. So, that's why I tend to not talk about the V115 that much. It depends where you are. Walker Ball 39, nice to have you on board. Pretty cool. Walker Rose says, I find this shortwave radio chat fascinating. That is absolutely cool. You know what? I was talking last week at the CKUT show. We had a little bit at the end, a few minutes where we talked about what I do. And I said, you know what? There are some people that don't have a shortwave radio that just join the chat room because it's just great. And we have a lot of fun talking about radio. And some people don't have a radio but are intrigued by what this is, which is also really cool. That's really cool, And well, if you get a Fedry Walker Ball, you will have a great radio. But you got to remember one thing. It's that if you get an SDR, you gotta have some computer knowledge, a little bit of computer knowledge. It's not all just plug and play. It's a plug and try to do something with it. Paul B, if I have not answered your question, please ask your question again. I do miss questions. Sometimes I'm far back in the chat, and what happens is I gotta go a little faster to try to get more up to date with everybody. So sometimes I jump over a question, and it's not because I don't want to answer. I just didn't see it. So and anybody that asks a question and says, "Hey, the guy doesn't answer," remember, we're 100 viewers, and the chat room is actually moving at a fast pace. So sometimes when I stop and I start rambling about something, and I start continuing, sometimes I'm so far back that I gotta move fast, because I can't answer a question that's 30 minutes behind. At some point, people are gonna say, "Wow, he's really that far back." So I try to be as constant as possible. So, it's not because I don't want to answer. Just, I always say it. You ask me something, you said hello, I didn't say hello back. Take the time to say, "Hey, I'm here." I'll be happy. I'll be happy to do it. And no, I'm not mad. Some people say sometimes when I talk, I look mad. I'm not mad. I'm just, talking. Casey Red Dragon says 9555 Saudi Arabia. Let's try it out. Saudi Arabia. Well, it's not very strong today, but it's there. It's not very strong, but it's there. Look at that great signal from Greece. It's been a long time since 9420 didn't come in that well. Great signal from Voice of Greece 9420 with some music. Voice of Greece 9420. So, Hey, D. Elkins, nice to have you here. Pretty cool to have everybody here. Wow. What else do we have? EBE, cheers. Nice to have you on board. Nice not to have you here. That's the exact thing. Radioactive says Gilles is not mad, he's serious. Well, it's just that on the tech channel, I had this one of my followers, a great girl, a great woman that she was talking to me about something, and I was actually giving my point of view, and she said, "Don't get mad." And I said, "I'm not mad. I'm just giving my point of view." And sometimes when I give my point of view, I'm a little intense. That's all. 10715 for the Cuban number stations. Oh yeah, that one's strong. Look at that. I can see that there are probably in the 100 people watching one of the spies from Cuba. Oh, I'm going to watch that guy's stream. He gets the station much better than my little crappy shortwave radio they gave me. Hey, Patrick Manny, nice to have you here. Gilles, the mad karaoke singer. Oh, God. David Green, does Radio Cairo actually exist? I try to listen to the listings in EIBI, EOCI, but I never hear. Yes, it does. But the problem, David Green, is that most of the time, even if you listen or receive the signal, unfortunately, Radio Cairo from Egypt is almost always distorted in its audio. It's almost always impossible to receive whatever program. It does exist and it does broadcast. Often I stumble across one of their signals, but it's impossible to understand anything. It's sad because most of the time they do pack a good signal, but the audio is so distorted there's nothing you can do. Hey Andrew J, have a nice time at work. Take care, and thank you for the nice comments. JD Williamson, since you're in an apartment, how did you ground your station? You know what? Most of the grounding is done at the level in the back for the antennas. For example, the grounding is done at the metal. There's a metal shed that goes all the way down to the ground. But it's, that's pretty much where everything is grounded for me here. It's not the perfect, it's not, the most perfect way to do it, but you got to do what you can, and it's Zach Cantle, Shirley, you're gonna have to call the Warrens to help with that poltergeist. Yeah, my speaker is always falling down. You know what? It's because I think I'm moving too much with my chair, so the speaker is always falling down here. Oh God. So Paul B, the difference between the Eton. So I did talk about it. Maybe you missed out. They are the same radio at the basics, pretty much. From what I hear, they are good receivers. Okay, I did not use the word great, but they are good receivers. And so from what I remember hearing and I saw in the chat earlier, the Texan S2000 has an IF out, where the Satellite 750 from Eton does not. But apart from that, inside the electronics, it is the exact same radio. They are good performers. Apparently, what I have read a few times is they tend to overload a little too easily on big antennas. But it's not bad. Wild Kerbal, thanks for the tip. I do know computers, but new to shortwave. In fact, your SDR gets me curious. You know what? The thing about SDRs is really the waterfall, and I'm sorry for those. By the way, I am sorry for those. I get a lot of comments of people saying, "Well, I'd like you to stop using that thing when you do live shows and use that ICOM radio instead." And I will do, okay? I will at some point. The reason why in live shows this is amazingly nice to have is because everybody sees what's happening. And the waterfall, I have to say, look at that. Okay, just look here. There's this little thing that appeared right there that's going up. And now it's telling me that on 10.677, there's some kind of signal. I don't know what it is. But it's something that I would miss and not know it exists and that it's been transmitted there if I was on the ICOM. There they go. Look at that. Somebody talking here. We'll try to see if we hear anything. But I would have missed out on somebody's there talking right now. And because I did not see that it was there, and for that I gotta say an SDR is amazing, but I am totally in love with my ICOM ICRD 500. It is a great radio, absolutely, okay, and I like to use it regularly. So what's the frequency for that, Richard? KC Red Dragon is receiving 11760 radio of Havana, Cuba. Yeah, it usually comes in 11760. This is an old frequency for Cuba. Yeah, it's there in Spanish. Not very strong, but it's there. 11760 has been. I remember when I was a young guy in the 80s, and they were on 11760. Oh, 11780, Brazil, Radio Amazonas in Brazil. 11780 in Portuguese, pretty good.
Longe de tudo, vasculhando as profundezas da água. Trabalho não muito convencional. O que leva a Letícia tão longe é algo que todos perguntam. A reação é de espanto, mas ela, com bom humor, já está acostumada a explicar. Eu lembro que uma vez eu estava embarcada e a internet era no Portugal e eu mandei a foto que eu estava para um grupo de amigos. E aí a resposta foi: eu não tenho Google Maps, está no meio.
So pretty nice. Hey Sheldon, nice to have you here, and thank you very much, Sheldon. I was, I was a little nervous, but it's kind of nice, and By the way, David mentioned that, you know, if I wanted to drop in from time to time, that I would be welcome. If everything's all right, I would sincerely be happy to drop in from time to time and be with you guys at CKUT, and be happy also to bring in some you know, some material, so that, you know, maybe you don't have to work that hard to get material. And if I ever drop into CKUT, I'll let you know, like, at least a week in advance, so that you'll know about it. But I'd be happy. I actually find it really fun to be there on the Sunday morning. So if you ever want to have one more guy, I gotta tell you, not every Sunday, but a lot of, you know, regularly, I'll be happy to be there. And thanks for the nice comments, and it was really cool. And anytime you need anyone, you know, I'll be happy to fill in. Absolutely. It's nice to see you, Sheldon, and I'm sure you're gonna have a lot to talk about in the Shortwave Fest, with the snowstorm and the power outage that happened there, which was kind of interesting. So that's pretty cool. EB, are you a ham operator? Nope, I am not. And you know what? I had an email from somebody that watched my live show and told me, man, I am amazed you're not an amateur radio operator with all the knowledge you got. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? It just never came out. Please explain IF out. Okay, and that is a good question, actually. Okay, IF out means that the radio has an output for the intermediate frequency of the receiver. So a receiver usually has an intermediate frequency that it's actually clocked to, if you want. When you have an output for that, you can actually add things that the radio doesn't have. For example, an IF out can be used to tap for receiving digital radio mondial, DRM transmission. All sorts of things like that. So not a lot of radios have that, by the way, but it's a way to tap into the radio and add capabilities that the receiver doesn't have by itself. But an IF, every radio has an IF frequency. It's just that some of them, they actually add that little output where you can actually tap into the radio. So, you know, WalkerBot says, yes, that is so cool, it is visual. And by the way, I'm a visual effect artist, so the waterfall is cool since the early 80s radio. You know, that is part of why I am hooked to my SDR. Because the information you get in the visual, you know, look at that. There's a signal there that just appeared right here. Look at that. I would not know. Look at that. I would not know that happened if I was listening to a station on the ICOM. And that's why I like that. I've actually been receiving or getting stations that I would not have seen if it was not for the SDR. You know, it's interesting for that. And it's not that old radios and ICOM is not good. It's just that it is true that the visual aspect of an SDR is amazing. So, you know, MDK2 rarely use my Satellite 750 anymore either, but I currently have a homebrewed loop on it, giving Guinea while I record Behavior Night on WDCQ on the SDR. Pretty cool. Hey B, nice to have you here. Joel, you mentioned Radio Greece, and I know this sounds silly, but to me, the power they have is about 170 kilowatts, but the modulation and audio are some of the best on shortwave. You know, one of the things that's very important when you transmit is to have good audio. You have to have good audio, good modulation. You can have 500 kilowatts pumping out on your antenna, but if the audio is low, you are lost in whatever noise and whatever is happening. So, you know, the thing is, you can have a very low output, 50 kilowatts. But if you got good modulation and good audio, you might actually have a better signal than if you'd use fiber. Look, Radio Cairo in Egypt, I believe, is at 250 kilowatts. With such a low and distorted audio, it's unusable. It's a waste of power, you know. So it is very important. Radioactive RTTY on 10107. Yeah, it's always there. That radio teletype's always there on 10107. There we go. Hey, there's. No, I got Morse code. I got Morse code there. And I believe that's the 30-meter amateur radio band. 30-meter amateur radio band. Jerry, what's the ratio of use between the ephedrine and the ICOM? I gotta say, I'll be very honest, for shortwave listening, which is the main aspect, I'm 70-30. 70% ephedrine, 30% ICOM. I've kind of decided to use the ICOM a little more for the VHF, UHF stuff. And when I want to listen to something on shortwave, you know, except for a quick look. Say I'm, you know, doing something and I see somebody mention, oh, on that frequency there's something. Now, it takes time to boot up the computer and have the ephedrine up and working. And it doesn't take a lot of time to do this and this and go to, oh, yeah, WWV's on 15 megahertz, you know. That is a different thing. So for a quick look at what's happening, yeah, look, you know, same signals. So I will say that because of visual aspect of the SDR, I am often more on the SDR. Walker says, my interest in shortwave stems from SETI. It's kind of nice, you know? Kind of nice. Radioactive says, listen to the show last Sunday. Jill did great. You know. That's cool. DX Place, hey there. Nice to have you on board. Pretty cool. Brian Penny, nice to have you here. Says, just got the SDR play. Talking to folks, after talking to folks at the Shortwave Fest, can't believe what I've been missing, but I still love it's the same thing. You know what, Brian? It's just what I've been saying here. You love your JRC 525, which is an amazing tabletop radio. I love my ICOM ICR 8500. Okay? It's not taking away the love I've got for that radio. But you got to admit, anybody that starts using an SDR, the potential and the visuals are amazing, and man, it just is crazy. Cool, Sheldon. I'll remember that. You guys are gonna hear me regularly. I'll be happy to go in quite regularly, actually, honestly. So it's pretty cool. And it's a great opportunity, and I find it really, really nice to be with you guys. It's kind of fun. Oh, what is that? RTTY on 10154. 10154. What do I have here? Oh. I got it on 10152. And that sounds like a 75 wide. Let's try it here. Let's just check. Probably encrypted, but op mode, RTTY, 75 wide. Yeah, it's very wide. It's a 75 wide. Here we go. It exactly matches 75 wide. But doesn't decode. Doesn't decode much. Let's try inverting. You know, a lot of RTTY, a lot of radio teletype stuff is encrypted, unfortunately. So it's very difficult to decode some of it. But this one is definitely a wide 100 baud or something like that. I can tell you that. So what else do we have? No, a 10154 is not the 30 meter band ham anymore. No. This is out. The 30 meter amateur band is a 10100 to what? 101. Wow, I got a blank here. It's 10100 to 10120, 30. Yes, I need to go steady for the license. Actually, PA1 SBM. Absolutely, I need to get my license. I got to say that. VK2FBAJ says, I can imagine the reaction of shortwave listeners at the fest when the power went off. Quick, where's my radio? As Sheldon was saying when we talked on the phone, some people were saying it was the shortwave radio field day. It's kind of cool. Kind of cool, honestly. You know what, Black and Blue 10? Unfortunately, you know what? One of the sources of noise that I've got that I suspect in the back, here where my antennas are, it's Bell Canada, and they have DSL internet and everything in that big cable. And I suspect that some of the noise actually comes from there. Much more than some of the neighbors, honestly. MDK2 has an interesting, you know, an interesting way to actually explain an SDR. Listening to a standard receiver is like following directions, but listening to an SDR is like using a map. Kind of. Mick H, yeah, absolutely. Please do so. You know, every receiver has an intermediate frequency. It's part of how receivers are designed. But some have an output. I've got one. The ICOM here actually has an IF out in the back, which would be where I could tap into if I wanted to decode DRM signals, for example, or any other things. So, you know, noises really are, you know. Paul B, so do shortwave frequencies have cycles per second? Absolutely. Absolutely. So when so here, for example, I'm at 10.154 megahertz. That means that this signal, that RTTY thing, is at 10,154,000 cycles per second right now. We got a big signal here. There must be some really exotic DX on that frequency because everybody's on CW on that little frequency there, 10.104, 10.105. I'm pretty sure there must be some exotic DX that everybody wants to talk to. It sounds like a pileup when some really rare station is there. So yeah, every radio frequency is cycles per second. It's the way it works. So you know, 10 megahertz, 10 million cycles per second. Absolutely. Richard Cook says, wow, 13845, really strong. You know what's interesting, Richard, is I have 13845 WWCR strong almost all the time. And now that you're getting it, I'm not. So it shows you how the intricacies, basically the way that it's actually working out on the shortwave spectrum when there's a broad transmission, if you want. You know, it's crazy. Lots of wrenchers here. Yep. Wrenchers have earned my trust. Oh, God. But, yeah, Black and Blue, there's a lot of these utility stuff that unfortunately do a lot of noise. And it is sad because it makes our hobby a little sad and a little, you know, kind of a little terrible sometimes because of all the noise. You know. What else do we have? David Green. I've hearing some really terrible signals of some new frequencies listed in Eritrea. It's sloped around inside the 40-meter band. I don't know how to explain it, but on the waterfall it was a mess. Oh man, I can tell you that. Black and Blue says, thankfully I can use online SDRs and there's tons of them. You know what? If I would be, you know, I'm halfway here, okay? I am partly into being able to still listen to shortwave, but partly into I miss out on a lot of things because of my eye noise level. And I have to say that I've been using a lot of online radios, a lot of online SDRs to compensate, using some of the more quiet radios that are online, and still listen to shortwave through these radios that are somewhere else. Oh, okay. Thanks, KC2JLI. I'm trying to remember what's the frequency range of 30 meters. So 30 meter is 10-100 to 10-150. Okay, thanks. I was trying to remember what was the... I remember it was a very small chunk. You know, it's like the 17 meter band, WARC band. It's, you know, just 100 kilohertz wide. 18068 to 18168. It's very, very, you know, it's a very small chunk of the shortwave spectrum. I can tell you that. Oh, really? There's a 10-meter contest for South America. You know what could be interesting in there is to see if South American stations will actually make it up here and give us an idea if 10 meters is open. You know? Yeah, Black and Blue. The 80-meter band is absolutely fantastic to listen to. You know, at nighttime, when I don't find anything interesting, I'll go through the 80-meter band, listen to some guys just talking about radios or antennas or whatever, and I like that, you know, just leave the radio on, listen in. It's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. I don't know. Are AMs allowed or not to encrypt a signal? I don't know. I don't know. Well, there's a lot of amateur radio operators, EBE, on this thing. Just says donations towards Gilles ham radio license. Ha ha ha. I might not be the same afterwards. I will be the same, but I might have a new channel, the official amateur radio channel. That's the difference. So you know. Bill K3WDR, nice to have you here. His 7300 Interpits RTTY. Cool. You know what, Black and Blue? You have a technician license, prefer listening. I always heard, and I think it is true, that the best amateur radio operator is the one that listens before he talks. And unfortunately, there's always that example of that guy that is a loudmouth that talks too much and did not listen. And you know, listen in. Even if I had an amateur license, I will be doing more listening than talking for sure. So how's the Fredry on long wave? Look, I got a lot of noise, so I can't compare it. If I go on long wave, say 248. So you can hear the airport beacon here. It actually seems to be quite sensitive on long wave and even on medium wave, honestly. But since I can't really DX much of the long wave, medium wave band, I can't really give a full, you know, is it really cool, a really great radio on that range? It looks like it is, but I can't DX really much, so I'm not sure. Lee Locke, nice to have you here. Yes, absolutely. We talked about it a little earlier, and just a reminder to everybody in North America, by the way, except Arizona, and I think Saskatchewan in Canada. We are switching to daylight savings times on the night of Saturday to Sunday. We're moving our clocks ahead 1 hour. So don't forget, if you're taking that reference, for example here, Eastern Time, we're at 5 hours from UTC. Sunday we'll be at 4 hours in UTC. Sometimes that's a little mix-up. So yep, CW and digital only on 30 meters, no voice. It's one of the only bands I think that is no voice, right? On the shortwave bands. Yeah, 160 meters. You know what? This winter, I've been amazed at receiving a lot of signals on 160 meters, which is 1.8 to almost to 2 megahertz. I've been amazed at how many signals, and some evenings really strong signals. I always tap into the guys. There's a few guys from the Northeast, state of New York, Maine, that are on 1850 and that talk together every evening. And from time to time I'll go on 1850 lower sideband, listen to them for sure. So Ham Hobby is not dead yet, absolutely. And look at the number of people that watch my show, that interact on my channel. Shortwave is not dead also. It's different. Okay, thanks David Arden. Hams are not allowed to encrypt anything. So I thought that was a rule. I was pretty sure it was, but I wasn't totally sure. So okay, cool. Oh man. Yeah, I've tried a few times. I go from time to time to the 10 meter band, see if there's something, but oh, well, fast load. There are assholes out there that just do things like that. Yeah, refresh if your stream is a little bit, but wait, be careful. Your stream might not be a few minutes behind. It's just because the important thing is to watch the clock here. When you're looking at the stream, look at the clock, and if you're just a few seconds, remember the one thing that I am often behind, because I stay behind in the chat sometimes, so it takes a little time before I get to the Sheldon says we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so listening is twice as important as speaking. I like that. I really like that. And that's not just true for amateur radio, by the way. It's true for everyday life. Oh, God. Sounds like a car horn. Yeah, almost. Yeah, so no hams can encrypt KC2 and XP. Confirms. The official amateur channel. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, maybe a boat, but a boat is lower. It's like Radioactive says hearing traffic on 14300 mobile maritime net. Hey, Ernie Turner in Australia. Oh really? Single sideband on 30 meters allowed advanced. Oh, that's interesting. In Australia it is. VK3DET. Thanks for the info. It's interesting how it's different. It's different. From one country to the other. Well, So David Arden says stream is 11 seconds behind in Georgia. So it's kind of nice. Well, not really, J.D. Williamson. Digital modes are not an encryption of its own. They are... really, an encryption is something you cannot decode. A digital mode like radio teletype in the amateur mode is not an encryption. It's a mode of transmission. But it's not... I don't agree it's an encryption. It's not an encryption. It's a different way of transmitting. It's a different way of transmitting. But it's not a encryption. So yeah, Paul B, I answered the question earlier. Absolutely. There are cycles per second. Every frequencies. Like I said, 10 megahertz is 10 million cycles per second. It's the way radio signals work. Radio frequency transmissions are all in cycles per second. So I've listened. I've talked about it earlier. Listen in when I talk about something. Other questions. There's William says New York Vomit. I haven't heard New York Vomit. I used to receive it on 100051 regularly. I don't hear it anymore, but I hear some other station called Gander Radio. Yeah, New York doesn't seem to be there anymore. So if we go on, the regular Vomit frequencies 10051, you will hear Gander, but at the times where usually it's New York, New York seems to have stopped. For those of you that like aeronautical frequencies, it's very important. Very important. In the next 2 years, a lot of what's happening on the aeronautical frequencies will stop working. It's very, very important to understand that. If you like listening to aeronautical frequencies on the HF bands, they're all moving to a system that will be satellite system. So you know what? Take the time to listen to the aeronautical bands and all the signals that are there, because someday, and you know what? New York Vomit's gone. Kind of an indication. I'm pretty sure the Shannon Vomit on 5505 is also gone. I hear the RAF Vomit like 5450, which is Royal Air Force. Here we go, from UK. This is a military Vomit.
10 kilometers below cloud, traffic 2,500 feet. 2,800 feet, temperature 10, degree, 7,
That's a military Vomit. But the aeronautical ones are slowly going to move away. Here, this is a signal. This is aeronautical right here. 5616, North Atlantic Communications. 5616. We'll try to put it up, and some people. No, 10147 KC the Red Dragon is not the ham radio. It's a wide band one, because that's outside the 30-meter band, and all amateur radio teletype are narrow. They're narrow band. They're not wide band. Vianney Arsenault, bonjour, bienvenue de la Gaspésie. Always nice to have you on board from the east part of the province of Quebec. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Nice to have everybody here. And we're having fun tonight. VK2 FBAJ says, and power limits 10 watts. Wow. For F calls. Interesting. Interesting. Bill Mead says, my Vomit's supposed to be back in June. New York Vomit? Really? It's going to be interesting to see. Uh, 5450 is not Shannon. It's the Royal Air Force Vomit in the UK. No, Leelock, I don't have an amateur radio channel. Well, okay, yeah. Let's be fair. I've got a channel that is amateur radio logs that I haven't looked at for a long time, and the idea behind it was to every amateur station that I would log, I would put into a video in YouTube. And a lot of amateur radio stations actually found it really cool, because they saw that, oh, it was cool, you heard me in Montreal, Canada, you know. But I haven't posted there in a long time. And I don't think it has the requirements of the 1,000 subs minimum before being monetized. And you know what? I have just found one major thing here is that having too many channels, at some point you can't deal with that. So you got to have the minimum amount of channels, and you got to take care of what you got. It's much more important. I've not heard 5505 Richard Cook in a long, long time. Really in a long time. Who the hell is calling me at this time? Somebody's calling. Okay, that, you know what? The number that's on my phone, that's somebody calling me to have a beer at the bar somewhere. So, you know, I got an amateur radio logs channel, but you know what? Yeah. Oh, it is 1040. Oh yeah, 150. 100 to 150, but it's not an amateur signal. It is not an amateur band signal. It's sorry. You are right. You know. So you see, sometimes I get, you know, I get messed up. So 10147, yes, is in the 30 meter band. Thank you, Radioactive, for correcting me. But that's not an amateur radio signal. And I believe you got to remember one thing, is that a lot of the bands that were actually there, like, you know, 60 meter band, the 5 megahertz channels for amateur radio, the 30 meter band for, you know, the 10 megahertz, it is a shared band with utility stuff. So there's stuff in there that might not be amateur radio. And actually, the non-amateur radio signals have a priority over any amateur signal. So if you hear something on one of these bands and it's a utility signal, you have the obligation to stop transmitting there, because they are the #1 operators. Amateur radio is second. So VNA is VA2 with VMA. So thanks for the info. And it's really nice. What else do we have? What else do we have? Here we go, look at that.
101, 5. Calling in, standby 1 on this place. Take it back. There it is.
That's cell call, selective calling. So, pretty cool. Pretty cool. MDK2 making me thirsty over here. You know, I bought a 6-pack, so 3 tonight and 3 for tomorrow. It's gonna be great. Radioactive has traffic on 10057 San Francisco ATC. Black and Blue says that there's some broadcasters. Yep, absolutely, but it's less than before, because broadcasters had a wider chunk of the amateur band before. Now it starts at 7200 kilohertz. But you know, I still have from time to time this amateur station that is stubborn and cannot accept that an international broadcaster is in a 40 meter band, and stubbornly will broadcast over whatever signal is there, because he just can't understand. And you know, there's one thing that I hate when I see somebody like that. It's like, look, you are sharing a band with somebody else. Whether you're happy or not, it's a rule. And, you know, there's other frequencies you can tune to. But I see from time to time this amateur guy is going to say, the hell with it. This is the 40 meter band. It's for amateur radio. I'm here, and that's it. It's like, yeah, okay. You're probably that idiot that makes everybody hate amateur radio operators. You know. Take care, Two Hands on the Radio. Always nice to have you on board. And tomorrow, 2000 hours UTC, another show, by the way. Bye, PLF Radio from France. Nice to have you here. Yep, starts, I believe, pretty much everywhere in the world now. It's 7200. From 7100 to 7200, they're kind of stations that are there, but technically shouldn't be there. You know, even in the international broadcast range, especially for smaller stations, they don't always follow the rules. A lot of them are in frequency ranges where, well, what the hell are you doing that? You're outside of the boundaries. And, you know, you never know. Richard Cook's got Radio Rebel Day, and we talked about that at the CKUT last week. CKUT last week, the 60 years of Radio Rebel Day. And 5025 is one of the frequencies where you hear it quite regularly. Lilox got Stella Artois. My Juice is from Hydro, which is a local brewery here in Quebec. Well, you know, it's now bigger. It's owned by Sleeman, which is, I believe, owned by Sapporo. So it's a Don de Dieu, which is gift from God, basically. This is a strong one. It's a 9% hail. So after 3, you're like, yeah, I'm not going to have another one. I can tell you that. It's like drinking a bottle of wine on your own. Man. No, not 3 6-packs tonight and 3 6-pack tomorrow. 3 beers tonight and 3 tomorrow. That's it, Vianney. I'm removing the moderator status and joking. Oh God. I used to have 6-packs. Now I have a keg. That's the way to do it, Lelock. Andrew the Exer says 7120 radio Argeisa, Somalia, also Eritrea, also broadcast between 7100 and 7200. Yep. I remember the good old days of Radio Moscow where they were on like 35 frequencies every hour. And you know, I remember they were like saying, well, we are broadcasting on 7100, 7110, 7125, 7135, 7150, and you're like, wow, you are actually broadcasting on almost every damn frequency in the 40-meter band that exists. Chris Freitas says, I have a remainder of a 6-pack of Blue Moon and Heineken. I love Blue Moon. You know what? I've fallen in love with the Blue Moon. There's a bar that I go to with my colleagues at Microsoft from time to time on the Monday evenings. We have a few beers, and I've fallen in love with the Blue Moon. It's great, great beer. Great Belgian beer. CRI strong on 7315. China Radio International. Let's check that out. Not much here. Let's check out what's on the... Talking the 40-meter band, let's listen to a couple of amateur radio stations. What is there here? Florida 6, Charlie Tango Tango. That is a French station. So let's try it out. Florida 6 CTT is a station from France. Here we go. It's Joseph from France.
Mexico, you are 5 and 9, and the name is Joseph. Is that
Joseph.
WTM? Or Georgia, CWM. Judging from South Carolina, no problem. W4 CWM. Excuse me for the mistake. Yeah, confused. Maybe to the translator of your call. I'm not sure. Running 1 kilowatt with
running 1 kilowatt. Not a wonder I'm hearing him really well. 1 kilowatt.
Charlie Tango Tango.
So French station, 40.6 Charlie Tango Tango. Oh man. Yeah, Jerry, I used to have a six-packs also where you're talking about it, but right now it's more of a keg. It's from a six-packs now to a keg. I should have a baby soon. Actually, I lost 22 pounds, and I'm trying to lose another 20, so I'll cross my fingers. But of course, beer is a big, big problem because there are so many calories. It's just crazy. Yeah, Brother Stares on tons of frequencies. I know that. You know, he's got the cash to pay that, and I still have a lot of, you know, problems with the stations that are still broadcasting Brother Stare stuff. JD Williamson says, "Oh my God, it's 0-100. My alarm goes off at 04. Having too much fun here." You know, that's the thing. Having too much fun. I'm having fun. I mean, you know what? It's 3 hours, and I'm like, wow, this is just cool. We're just having a lot of fun. Absolutely, here, absolutely. Yeah, Neil Sino says the shortwave show is absolutely fantastic and interesting. We like listening frequencies and we like life, so we can be funny and happy. That's really about it. You know, if you can't laugh at yourself, first of all, there's a big problem, and that's the major issue right now in social media and what's happening in life. It's like if you can't, you know, laugh at your own life, at your own community or whatever, when there are jokes, I'm sorry, it's getting too serious. You know, it's just crazy. Ah, man. Yeah, Overcomer Ministry, Overcomer Frequencies. You know, I always have that image. I'm sorry for the illusion because it's a little dirty, but I remember Brother Stare ending his broadcast with talking about the horrors of Babylon, and we are the Overcomer Ministry, and I'm like, wow. Horrors of Babylon, Overcoming Ministry brings weird images in my mind suddenly. It's kind of a weird way to match things. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, really, MDK2? Of course. Oh, absolutely. The orange slice is very important because without it, it ain't that, you know, it's okay, but there's something missing. The orange slice really needs to be there. It is an amazing beer when you have the orange slice. It's like if you take a Sleeman's Silver Creek, you gotta put a little bit of lime in it, and you're gonna be amazed at how good it is. I'll tell you that. Hey there, Free Saxon. Nice to have you on board. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. What else do we have? What else do we have? Overrated ministry. Oh, totally. Yeah, absolutely. Can tell you that, David Green. Radio Romania in English on 7220. Let's check it out. Radio Romania. Pretty good signal. Look at that.
Romania's Defense Minister Mihai Tripura and his Greek counterpart Alnos Stamenos signed on Friday in Bucharest a cooperation agreement in the field of defense. Minister Tripura said that Greece is Romania's major ally in the region. According to the Greek official, Romania and Greece have stepped up their relations both in bilateral affairs and as partners within NATO and the European Union. The two officials also tackled, among other things, the situation in the Western Balkans, the extending Black Sea area, and the agenda of the EU summit in July. US President Donald Trump has accepted to meet his North Korean counterpart Kim Jong-un in May, North Korean authorities have announced.
So this is a broadcast to Europe, by the way, but it's really coming, you know, it's coming to North America really, really well on that frequency. Thank you, Judd. You know what? I want to try. I'm going to be, you know, I will be 49 years old in a week and a half. I'll be 50 next year, the big 50. And, yeah, I know, compared to some of you guys, are gonna say, "Well, you're a young guy," you know. I know. Yeah, okay, yeah. Compared to others, I'm an old geezer. But you know what? For staying in health, you know, I do a lot of bike. In the summertime, I do a lot of bike. I wanna, you know, losing weight, stay in shape. I want to do these live shows until I'm 95, you know. So, you know, I want to be here in 2060 doing a live show on some whatever platform is going to be available back, you know, in that era of, you know, maybe virtualized. Maybe at that time, you know what? Everybody's going to be in a room because we'll be all in a virtual world or something, and we're all going to be here. We'll be able to see each other, you know. But until then, you know, I want to lose weight, try to stay as much in shape as I can also. I do a lot of exercise, so, you know, I want to try to stay in shape. That's the thing. Oh, God. David Green, I'm drinking a beer called Dorothy's New World Lager from a local brewery. I'd like to try that, man. Sounds interesting. You know what? When I go somewhere, if I go somewhere, I want to drink some kind of local beer that I've never heard before. I like that, totally. Vianney says, 7128 lower sideman. Wow, good signal there. For sure, I'm using a Cushcraft R5, normally not good for 40 meters. Wow. Well, 1 kilowatts, you know. Casey Red Dragon, there's SSTV on 7170? Really? Let's check it out. Let's check it out. Let's try 14230. Let's see if there's some SSTV to listen to. Nothing much here. Leave it there a little bit, see if there's some slow scan TV signals. Mr. Streetman, hello there. Nice to have you on board. David in Barcelona, nice to have you here. And we're at 3 hours and what, a couple of minutes into the live shows. Maintaining our, we're 89 viewers. Not too bad. Maintaining our people watching. Really nice to have everybody here. Take care, Mick. Nice to have you here. Always. Tomorrow, 2000 hours UTC. We're here again. Blabbing about shortwave. Blabbing about radio. I can tell you that. We'll continue some of the questions tomorrow. Because, you know, I'm using some of them when we have nothing to talk about. But we got more questions to talk about. And we'll have some of them left for tomorrow, William. So listen to the Saturday show also. A lot of them are going to be there. Oh, man. This is the Shortwave Show. We're here every Fridays, 2000 hours Universal Time. And we just have a lot of fun talking about radio. Enjoying radio. Enjoying beer. Enjoying life. And there's a great chat room where a lot of people are just, we're just having fun. And we're a great bunch of guys. It's like, you know, we're like, it's like being at a bar, but we're not. We're like, you know, live on the internet. But somehow, when and it's very honest, it's so funny because when I see the chat room and what I do, I have the impression we're a gang. There's a lot of people around me. And every time I end the show and I just stop the stream, I'm always like, wow, it really feels like I was like with a ton of people because now I feel alone suddenly, you know? It's just funny. But it's, you know, great people. And this is what life's all about. Fantastic people joining a live show and having fun. You know? That's pretty much it. What else is there? What else is there? South Korean station jammer on 6250. You're amazing what you got, you know? We need cakes with handles. You can drink and work out at the same time. Yeah, Jerry. Oh, God. Zach Ansel says, Jill, there's a French fashion designer I follow around here, and her accent sounds completely different to yours. You know, I'm not from France, so my French language and my English language does not sound the same. You know, I was listening to that French guy with his definite French accent when speaking English. But you know, it's I don't have that much of a you know, I have an accent depending on what I'm talking about, or whatever word. Some words I'm not, that I don't really pronounce very often. Sometimes I'll have that weird accent to it. But if, you know, in general talk, the other day I met somebody that said, "Hey, I was watching a show you did," and it was like, I would not have guessed that your native language is French. Because when I hear you speaking English, it's like, no, I think you're an English guy. I think your native language must be English. And I'm like, no, it's not at all. At all. And he was saying, man, I always thought you were of English, you know, the first language you learned was English. I was like, no, absolutely not. I did not speak a word of English until I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I started having to understand my next door neighbor that did not speak French. But honestly, the young age is the best time to learn language. You know, when you're 5 or 10 years old, your brain is like a sponge. It's just getting all the information in, and it's amazing. You know, today is much, you know, at close to 50 years old, it's older to get a language. As somebody was mentioning earlier, you know, 50 is the new 20 years old or something like that. Yeah, kind of. I still remember when I was 20 and saying, oh, those old geezers at 50. Yeah, I'm there now. I don't feel like an old geezer at all. So, you know, when I talk about older people, it's different. You know, I try not to use words no more of, well, you know, 75-year-old is an old guy, because it's like, no, you don't understand. At 50 now, I feel like I'm still 18. You know, I always joke about the fact that in my head, even though I'm getting to 50, I don't have the legal age to go into a bar. And you know what? I guess we never, you know, inside our mind, we never get older. Our body's telling us, man, you're getting older, but not inside here, you know? And so, you know, you got to stop thinking about age. I think we're all young at heart. Mr. Streetman says, I have an Icon PCR 1000. Is this worth even messing with anymore? Well, they're not that bad of receivers, honestly. And I think, yes, they are still worth, you know, working with, honestly. They were pretty good receivers and SDRs, if you want. But, you know, SDRs have gone a long way since these PCR 1000 and all these series. But I think, yes, it's still worth it. Absolutely. David Arden says, when the show stops, I feel alone too. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how when I stop the feed, I'm like, wow, it's like if I've been in a room full of people and I just walked out the door and now I'm alone. Really crazy the feel you get, I can tell you that. Really crazy. Vienna Arsenault says, let me just go back here, okay. You're great, Jill, and that's the reason why. I know. You know, sometimes I have a hard time because I, you know, just wonder what I'm saying and doing and the like. How come people are interested in just, you know, I know there's the basic aspects, the shortwave aspects of it, but how come people are listening to me for 4 hours rambling on about shortwave and everything else, and still get interested and still be there? And I'm like, yeah, okay. Maybe I'm what, you know, Vienna, I was thinking about it the other day, and, you know, I ramble on for 4 or 5 hours, and it reminds me of, you know, that Quebecois guy that I'm trying to remember his name, that, you know, does like 24 hours at the Bell Center here in Montreal and talks about all sorts of stories of his life, and people are kind of interested. He's always there, you know, and it's like, wow, okay, maybe I'm in my own way that kind of guy, you know. Is that link on 7096 KC Red Dragon? 7096. What am I hearing here? There's definitely something on 7096 that is there. So I'm not really sure what it is. There are a few modes on amateur bands that I'm not totally sure of. Hey, Texan radios just. Oh, here we go. Sorry, guys. Totally sorry. I just clicked something I should not have, that I didn't even know existed until my mouse pointer was right at the little dot, and I said, what the hell am I doing? Screen is blank. It's dark. Do you like Gaspésie French accent? Well, you know, all the different regions, you know, it's like Gaspésie French accent, or the French accent from New Brunswick, and so on. Les Acadiens. It's kind of interesting. Thomas Taylor, hey there. Nice to have you here. Second, speaking of France, I saw an episode of SVU and started both Isabelle Huppert and Sharon Stone. Huh. You know, it's just crazy. Crazy. Wow, Zach Antel's turning 20 next week. And feel and look, yeah, come on, you don't, I bet you don't look 45. Come on, okay? Thomas Staters, I'm 40 and feel 70 or 80. Hello there from Russia. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Always. Always. VK2FBAJ, I am 38 today. Hey, happy birthday. Feel 38. yeah, okay. Okay. Granny says, one of the most intensive experience I've had with English in 1974 was I was working at Montreal UN office to answer the phone. I was really not comfortable. Yeah. You know. But there's also another thing in there. But you never did that. Honestly, having to answer the phone to tons of people is already an uncomfortable experience. It's not easy, I can tell you that. B says, Shell looks as if Texan is going to continue production of the S2000 despite the introduction of the PL8800. Well, they're not priced, well, yeah, they are kind of priced at the same. And I do agree one thing about you. The Texan 8800 is way overpriced. You know, there's a thing we got to understand. We've been with receivers like, for example, the Texan PL680, which is a $100 receiver that is amazing in its performance. And when you try to throw us a portable radio that costs $300 or $200, you know, we've been used to cheap radios. You know, computers have gone down. I remember buying a computer in 1998, an HP computer that cost me $2,700, $2,700, and then it went down and down and down, and you could have a $600-$700 computer that was really, really good. Shortwave radios had the same pattern with Texan and with some of the Chinese manufacturers, went down in price, but maintained an amazing performance level. And then you start seeing these receivers, like, for example, C-Crane. You know, the C-Crane Skywave SSB looks nice, but I find it expensive. I don't want to pay that amount of money for a radio now. I've been used to a $75 radio that actually performs really well. So it's, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. You know, and remember, guys, I come from an era where a decent digital PLL synthesized receiver, okay, in 1985, portable radio with a decent display was minimum $300. It was like $299. I remember my dad buying a Panasonic RFB 300 that I wish I still have today. That thing was drifting. It had an LCD display for the frequency. That thing had USB and you know, a single sideband. And he paid $300 for that thing at that time. And at $300 in 1985, it was not the top of the line receiver. It was a very average shortwave radio. So crazy. Radioactive says Navtex 8415. Not hearing anything. Wow, that's huge. Look at that big buzzing signal here. Starting at about 8380 all the way to 8400 kilohertz. Some amazing buzzing signal there. Crazy. So you know. What else does what you do, those shell? I tell you, you know what? You know, like I say, my main income is YouTube. I've been able to pull it off and have enough of an income with YouTube to live on it. I work at Microsoft part-time, but you know what? My life is here, and that's why I'm here. I can tell you that. Mommy back Xavier Dolan. Hey, C. Johnson. Yeah, you know what? The screen faded out, and I pressed that button that I didn't know existed. Look at that, guys. When I do it here, off, and we're back. I didn't even know I had that fade out, fade in thing. Now I can actually fade out before I go away, and it's a little dot on the right side of the screen. It's just crazy. Oh God, you know, it's just crazy. Oh man. So, going down. You know, I was looking at something and my mouse pointer was just over a little dot and I didn't see it. When I clicked, it faded out the video. And I didn't know it existed, so now I know. Oh man. Yeah, it's the same thing. TV station, something goes wrong. The only thing is I don't have that screen with the little Indian and the little, you know, on every corner there was like a little round target. And there was the Indian in the middle. You guys remember that on TV? It was like, okay, what's that? Oh God. Yep, I've got dropouts on the internet also. We have in Russia more than one radio station does not broadcast from Russia, and you know, I miss the Voice of Russia from the 1990s, which was an interesting station. Even further, you know what? It's not maybe for a lot of people the best of times, but I kind of miss Radio Moscow from the 80s. You know, that's kind of interesting. It's interesting because some friends of mine, when we were talking, you know, we went to school together, and of course, you know, I'm a kid from the Cold War era. I mean, the 70s, the 80s, was kind of a Cold War period. It was very complex. And we were talking about that era and how the feel that we had and everything. And you know, it's crazy what happened there. And you know, I remember, you know, listening Radio Moscow and Radio Berlin International. Oh man, you know, it's crazy. How do we decode Navtex? Well, you gotta go. You can use FLDG. And if you go to FLDG and the operation modes, on the bottom, Navtex Sitor B modes are there. That's all you got to do, and then you got to align the 2 lines with whatever Navtex transmission you got, and you will decode, which is usually weather broadcasts most of the time in Navtex, basically. Uh, 27, 28 megahertz. I haven't heard a lot of things on 10 meter band, 28 megahertz, my friend. 27 megahertz is mostly CB band, so if I go there, you know, 27,000. So this is the CB band for me. So not a lot happening right now on the CB band. You know, with the low solar activity, you gotta wait until some unusual thing happens, and basically it's just crazy. Jerry says a radio is naked without SSB. Kind of. You're kind of right on that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Just crazy. Yeah, the old test pattern. It was crazy. The Indian in the middle with the targets on the sides. There were 4 targets. That's kind of interesting. The old test pattern. Can we find an old test pattern? We'll try to find an old test pattern on YouTube. Okay. Let's go into nostalgia here. Old TV test. Oops. Test pattern. Indian. Here we go. Look at that, guys. We actually had this on TV way back. Look at that. Ah, that's the old test patterns with the Indian. But there was another one. This is not the one I saw when I was young. There must be another one. There was one that was more, I don't know, there's something. Okay, well, this one, of course, I've seen also quite regularly. But this is another one. So here we go. It even has all the problems with the how many views does that video have? I'm just curious here. 6,000 views. ABC test pattern ABQ2 1983. Wow. And that was recorded on a bad VCR that was having tracking problems. So we got technical difficulties, guys. I'm really sorry. Oh God. The 80s, best Brett Wayne. You know what? I'm a kid from the my prime time for childhood was 80s, and I'll always remember and be so happy from that period, even though it was always easy. David Arden says, when I was in the UK in the 70s, some channels would broadcast a test pattern all day. Hope they don't do that now. I don't think they do. Now it's like so precious. Every second of transmission needs to be used for something. What the hell is that? That's a video from YouTube kind of pretending your TV screen is going bad. Okay, kind of interesting. That's kind of interesting. Oh man. Now the clothes and the hair was bad. Totally bad. But there were some cool things. You know, Voice of Russia, because today is not Radio Moscow. Voice of Russia was, they actually register frequencies every year, every single transmitting season that they want to use to transmit on shortwave, but they don't come back. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's just be another outlet. They're going to say that, you know, I don't know, elections got rigged by Radio Moscow and shortwave or something. So, you know. B says the Seagrain SSB comes with Sennheiser earbuds and Sangean real antenna. Nice touches, but the XH data is one of the is stealing the show, and it is an amazing radio. I can tell you that. David in Boston says, wait until I finally could buy a Texan PL600. I love discovering the part of the HF that had been impossible for me to receive till then. So, you know, oh man, Jerry, the day after was like the movie that everybody got crazy about. I remember because the day after was banned. A lot of it was banned. The Day After, for those that don't know, is a movie with oh man, what's the actress she's called? Oh God. Anyways, it's a movie about, you know, nuclear war, and the movie ends that everybody sees that the United States were actually the first to send the nuclear weapons, not the Russians. But that's not the main thing. The main thing is that now you see people, you know, vomiting and whatever because they're sick and going to die from nuclear radiation. That had such a strong impact back in the 80s. It was amazing. I remember that movie playing on TV and I'm like, whoa. And you know what? That movie had one positive impact. It showed us that, okay, stop being an idiot. Stop thinking that you can survive a nuclear holocaust, because it's not going to happen. You're going to die. And start thinking that your government cannot continue telling you all the time, yeah, we can win that nuclear war. Don't worry about it. We're going to save you. Yeah, right. Come on, okay? We're not stupid anymore. But that time was crazy. That time was crazy. I was talking with a friend of mine. We were talking about Frankie Goes to Hollywood. I don't know if some of you guys remember that band. They had a video that was called Two Tribes. And it actually showed the Russian president and I believe it was Ronald Reagan president in an arena, and they were fighting each other. And that video was banned because it was violent. I mean, I think it was, is it the Russian president that like bites, or is it Reagan that bites the ear and just like rips off part of his ear or something? It's like, I remember seeing that video and it was like, I was amazed at the video. I was amazed at what I was seeing there and the song. And it was intense. But you know what? It represented how intense the 80s, the 70s, and in the Cold War in general pretty much was, you know? It was crazy. Really crazy. I gotta tell you that. Really crazy. Really amazing. What else do we have? Thank you for the answers, my friend, but as you have in Canada with emission standards, satellites.com, in Russia we have working radio pirates using these satellites. Yeah, like in Brazil. Yeah, a lot of it. 7220 TOT. Oops, I'm not there anymore. 7220 was Radio Romania earlier. Here we go. That is still Radio Romania broadcasting right now. Wow. Crazy. Really crazy. MDK2 says Day After was an incredible movie. Absolutely. Of course, it scared everybody. It scared the crap. The Day After scared the crap of everyone. And that is exactly what that movie was to do. And it did it extremely well. Jane Fonda? You know what? I was thinking about the actress. Who's the actress in there? Jane Fonda is in there, right? It's Jane Fonda, I think. Oh man, that movie was crazy. That movie was crazy. Man, but you know what? It did very well what it wanted to do. Made us realize that no. That's not the way it's going to work. Take care, David Arden. Tomorrow, 2000 hours UTC. MDK2. You remember Two Tribes? I remember that. I'll never forget Two Tribes. Look at that. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube. I'm not going to put the audio because the audio is going to flag my video. But Two Tribes. Frankie Goes to Hollywood. Look at that. Okay? We'll keep the audio down. Yeah, look at that. It's even showing the moment where he's like, you know, that was a video that was about to talk about, you know, how it's two huge countries, you know, USSR and the US. And, you know, it starts like this, actually, with, here we go. So look at that. So it's it's the Russian president, and it's like Ronald Reagan or something, and they are just fighting off in the arena, and it's like crazy. This was banned in a lot of places, but I remember seeing it on TV. It was totally crazy, totally crazy. Really crazy. So I looked up the cast for the day after. Joe Bette Williams was in it. I think it was who you were thinking of, Jill. Jane Fonda. No, Jane Fonda wasn't in. Who was the woman in it? The day after. Madrid Yeser says, Jill, put the North Korea test card on, please. Oh, God. Yeah, that guy, you know what? It's Joe Bette Williams, MDK2? Okay. I thought it was Jane Fonda for some reason. I don't know why. That guy is Chernyenko or something like that. There was a Russian president that lasted like 8 months. It was very, very short-lived. And I think that guy was the guy that was represented here. So anyways, crazy times, eh? And I lived through that period of time. Look at that. That's the time where he's actually biting off part of his ear, which is an excellent moment. But, I mean, that was banned almost everywhere. Yeah, Jane Fonda was the workout stuff, I know. I'm trying to remember. So, okay. Huh, interesting. Oh, God. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. So, hey, guys. Chernyenko, huh? MDK2? He was there like 8 months or something. Nixon was always weird. Nixon was weird even when he was president. Anyways, nice to have you on board, Muglone. No, that's not a movie. It's a video clip, a music video clip from Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Bobby Burgess, and it's called Two Tribes, Two Tribes, and it's a video from Frankie Goes to Hollywood from the 80s, and it's just crazy, just crazy. Oh, man. Wow. Crazy times. So anyways, hey everybody. We're going to be live tomorrow at 2000 hours UTC. Just going to put up once again for the last time. If you want to donate, you know, I take great effort in doing this. And I hope that you enjoy what I do. So please help me out if you can. PayPal.me/shortwave. Or if you go to PayPal, you just send it to my Yahoo email right here and patreon.com if you want. Shash Radio and Computers. And we're going to end this show with another little take of the 80s, or yeah, pretty much a Radio Moscow moment. Radio Moscow, night in Moscow or something like that. Midnight in Moscow. Sorry. Midnight in Moscow. And have a great evening, everybody. Tomorrow. Okay, North Korean test card. Let's check it out. North Korean test pattern TV. Let's check it out. Which one is it? Do they have? I've never seen that one from North Korea. Or test, not text, test card. Trying to find something there. Korean Central Television test card music. What the hell is? Oh. Okay, there's this one. Okay, there's an ad. I'm sorry. A French ad too. And so this is one with and there's this one, KCTV Startup. Okay, let's check that out. That's the KCTV Startup. So where is it? Look, it starts kind of here. Okay. Oh, here we go. Oh God. Yeah, okay. Then we see what, the Korean leader? Oh yeah, let's win the revolution. Let's do it. We can win the world right now. And we will be the only ones on this planet. Oh God. That is the best. Let's all salute King Jong whatever. Oh man. So bye everybody. And now it's midnight in Moscow. So some of you will remember. It always brings me back to that moment in time. Take care everybody. Loved you all. See you tomorrow. 2000 hours UT. Bye. It's actually really good. I love this song. But it does bring me back so much when I was like 16 or 17 listening to Radio Moscow. It seems it's not copyrighted. Every time I play it, I never get a copyright notice for some reason. Love you all. Stay safe. Absolutely, MDK2. Oh yes, I will fade. Absolutely. Bye, everybody. Take care.